Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to welcome all the participants to the third TAB annual conference. It's nice to see our member community growing in the last year despite the COVID situation. We are now an almost 70 member strong community. In the interest of safety, we were forced to conduct this conference virtually. I'm sure the next conference will give us an opportunity to be physically together and interact more effectively. Meanwhile, we are also planning to have a physical networking and celebratory dinner in March this year, situation permitting, of course. For this conference, we are delighted to have an array of speakers with Mr. Rajesh Jain and Mr. Jason Zickerman as our keynote speakers. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our sponsors, Loopify, CloudFronts, and iQuadrant. We will also have the opportunity to hear some useful ideas for business from the director of CloudFronts, Mr. Anil Shah. As has become our tradition, Mr. Deepak Thombre and Mr. Ullas Deshpande gave their valuable time to evaluate the responses for the award nominations. A warm welcome to both of them. Members and your guests, this conference is possible because of your active and enthusiastic participation. One of the main highlights of this conference will be the member panel discussions. We felt this will give an opportunity for some of the members to actively participate in this event while sharing some interesting owner insights for the rest of the members. We cordially welcome all the members and guests to this event. We have a members corner in this website that can be accessed using the login credentials that we have provided. It mentions details of all our members. Please take time to visit, and you can connect with any of them after the conference. We have a busy schedule for the next 3 hours. The session has two broad agendas. The first is the knowledge sharing by our speakers for the day, along with the panel discussions. The second is, of course, the award announcements, for which I think most of us are eagerly waiting. From an administrative perspective, all members who have received nominations for awards are requested to go to the Zoom link provided when we announce it. You are required to please wait in the waiting room till you're admitted. Admission will be done when your award category is being announced. At the end of the award ceremony, we would like all our members to join the Zoom link, which we'll provide in the TAB India WhatsApp group for a group photograph. I think this will be something that we can cherish for a long time. During the event, we request each of you to keep the chat box alive on YouTube and give your comments and questions on the chat. This kind of engagement that is needed, that will keep the event vibrant. Finally, like last year, if you wish to revisit any of the sessions, you can access a recording in this website itself. We'll be hosting the recording of each of the sessions by end of next week. I would like to now invite Mr. Ramas Krishnan, the MD of TAB India, to commence the session with his opening comments and conduct the proceedings of this event for the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Ravi. It is my pleasure and honor to open the third annual Member Awards and Conference 2022. I welcome everybody who is in this conference in behalf of my fellow director, Lakshmi Ramaswamy, who is here on screen sharing the stage with me, our COO of TAB India, Kavi Mani, who introduced the session, all our TBOs, our partners in various regions, and our group directors, Srini Bharati, who is sort of not on screen, but doing a lot of magic behind, and Anish, who heads our Aspire Infinite, and then our coordinator, Ajinkya. So I welcome everybody on behalf of TAB India. It's interesting that this event was actually conceptualized over a joke. I mean, it's funnily enough, I remember we had our first member advisory committee and we were discussing about a knowledge session because that's what conferences typically are. And we were conceptualizing what kind of sessions we need and who do we need to invite and so on and so forth. When I think with a lot of feeling, one of our members actually said, hey, you know what? In this conference, we usually pat people on everybody's back. We do incentives, we do appraisals, we give awards to all our team members. Who the hell is going to give us awards, right? It seemed funny enough, quite honest to God. I mean, when somebody said that, you know what, who's going to give us awards? And that was the seed of this whole TAB Awards and Conference. That's where this award ceremony began. Let me just take a brief minute to welcome Mr. Jain, who is going to be speaking in right after me. I'm so glad he's on time and participating. We will switch on to you after a 15-minute break, sir. And actually, we are very honored and glad that you're able to join us right from the beginning. Welcome. So that's how this whole award ceremony started. I mean, it started by entrepreneurs, actually wanting, Mr. Jain, you can be on video. We would love to have you here if required. So either way, I leave it to you. Right. So this whole award ceremony started, by somebody saying that we entrepreneurs have lots of people coming to us. We are busy looking out for people, things to do to others. Who will award us? And so we said, Tab India, great. Come on, let's start. And that's how the first award ceremony began. And the energy and enthusiasm was there to see. And then it became a whole tradition for us to follow. So this is an evening where we all get together to sort of celebrate. We connect, we collaborate, we celebrate, and also seek some external validation for our hard work. And that's very important, right? Not just from customers, from suppliers, right? And we need some external validation for the work we do. And this award ceremony is something that we all get together and celebrate. That's the whole purpose of the conference and the awards. I think this conference has been far more sweeter in these tough times, simply because as a team, our community has actually engaged much deeper than before. We've supported each other far more. We have explored multiple options as to how to grow out and get out of our situation. We have tried to keep our teams together, motivated them, and in spite of odds, we've grown our business, as we will see later. Last year, it would have been the easiest thing to do, put up the conference, because the first conference, we all were meeting and having fun and having dinner. It would have been the easiest thing to do. But that's not Tab, right? I mean, we start on time, we do everything on time. So we did the event virtually. And this year as well, while we planned for a hybrid event, we were forced to go virtual, but here we are. But we are hoping come March, we'll actually have a dinner and celebration very soon where we can handshake. So this whole process has been very interesting. It's once again, a very warm welcome to all of you who are here. It's a day we celebrate our members, fellow entrepreneurs, and all those of you who are going to be on the event and participating. Let me just take a few minutes to bring in some statistics to sort of highlight what we went through, right? Recently, Dun & Bradstreet published a survey of SME businesses in India. And what they actually said is it's no doubt that SME businesses really struggled, right? Majority of the SME businesses really struggled in this COVID times, and many of them came back. And interestingly, what it said was more than 80% of the SME owners actually used the opportunity to digitize and get forward in many things that they did. And even as a country, let me tell you, irrespective of what the world talks about us, when it comes to using technology, smartphones, literate, illiterate, does not matter. We tend to adapt very fast and do things at a much faster pace. SME business are no different. And it's very critical because we've grown. Some additional input when we were talking to lots of people around the world with SMEs. These are some very interesting facts that emerged, which were interesting for me, which I would like to share, which were a little counterintuitive, right? I mean, firstly, countries that put in a lot of dole, and in the difficult times, I'm sure we had a lot of cribs about our government, this, that, and the other. But there is absolutely no proof that the countries which actually dished out a lot of dole, gave salaries, gave incentives to SMEs, and did everything, there is absolutely no statistics to prove that they have grown more than the others, right? Absolutely none. Similarly, countries which actually gave a lot of dole and a lot of monthly allowances and allowed people survival during the pandemic, it doesn't mean that they've returned to work in spite of the hardships, right? So absenteeism is in countries where hardship allowances have been given is as much as anywhere else. Again, counterintuitive. In spite of difficult times, the cost of hiring and attracting talent has actually gone up, not only in IT. All of us in this, we are more than 20 industries in Tab, right? It's a common issue, right? We are still finding it difficult to attract and nurture talent, something new. But without growth, you can't really be struggling. Digitization is here to stay. And what the survey said is 3 areas where most SMEs have invested in are cost reduction, competitiveness, and customer behavior. Having said all this, it goes without saying that companies have struggled. I'm not here to say that the world is a hunky-dory place, right? We have struggled, we've had challenges. And let me tell you one interesting insight, which for me is important, is that it is not industries or segments that really go below the table. It's a common statement saying that we are all in the same boat. I constantly believe that's absolutely not true. We're all in the same storm, but we are in our own boats. How strong our boat is, how good we are, how we navigate the storm determines. So I just want to leave a thought on the table. It's not industries that collapse and die. It is individual companies that survive or thrive. And therefore, ultimately, it's a matter of our choice on how we respond to the situation. And therefore, closer to home, right? We need to back it up with some data, right? Closer to home, I'm very proud about our members. I think the last 2 years, I still remember 2 years ago, it was February when we do our annual planning retreat. We take the owners out. February, we were doing the annual planning retreat. The news of pandemic hit. And all through the year, all our facilitators said, you will not change the plan. We said, look, we'll do what it takes. We'll achieve our numbers. Some grew, some doesn't grow, but we all spend more time engaging in planning rather than lesser. And the results are there to see. Over 80% of TAB members in India across 14 different industries have actually grown their business. And as we speak, we see the results every month. Many companies have actually outperformed their last year's number already in Jan. And that's good. That's very good. It's not come without its challenges, obviously, but it's very, very different. TAB itself, TAB as a community, we've grown from 41 members to 67. That's a big jump in membership. Right? When consulting and coaching went into deep trouble, we actually grew our business with over 90% retention. Members have wanted to stay with us. With our StratPro engagement, not only have the larger companies been getting into coaching, they've actually started using coaching as a tool to bring their next level team members up. So today, as we speak, there are many companies where the next level team members are doing their annual planning and presenting it to the owners, something which is not very, very common earlier. And finally, we are not only in Mumbai and Puducherry, this time we are in Chennai and Rajkot as well, with members from Baroda and Bangalore joining these boards. So yes, it's good stuff. People have worked hard and we're very proud about that. I just want to end my conversation with something interesting, because recently I was interviewed by somebody and we were talking about India and what we do and stuff like that. My whole thought is, we are fundamentally a bunch of self-critical folks, right? We like to crib about a lot of stuff. We complain quite a bit. It sort of comes natural, right? And I am very happy about it, because if you're uncomfortable, you will do something about it, is my brain. But sometimes we really don't count our blessings, right? We are often busy about cribbing about so many things. And today the list seems longer, but sometimes only when you travel around the world, meet other people and take a more long-term view, then let me tell you, without a doubt, India is the place to be and entrepreneurship is the way to go. So recently when I was interviewed, I spoke about 3 things, right? Again, on a jovial note, because it was funny too. I call it PDC, right? Post-dated checks. So India gives some post-dated checks. Now it's up to us whether we want to actually encash them or not. And it's entirely our fault if we don't encash them. I call it, first, a population profile. We have a demographic which is young, enthusiastic, large population, a large market space. Unlike many small countries, we don't have to struggle. Though Indians export quite a bit, there's a bunch of work to be done out here. People are looking to come here. Second, democracy. It is not a small mean. Once again, let me tell you, we have a lot of cribs about it, but we are by and large, in fact, I would say in a very significant way, we are among the most democratic countries we know of. And thirdly, and finally, chaos, right? Let me tell you, chaos is the necessary ingredient for jumpstart growth. All the companies and all the countries which are growing in a very structured, disciplined, small rate of growth with no chaos, the opportunities just don't exist. For us SMEs who are agile, who want to grow, who want to scale, we're talking about 40, 50, 60% in the world, talking about 4 or 6. All these 3 become exceedingly critical. And therefore, I just want to leave a message, right, that we have a unique blend, almost a heady blend about things that we as Indians can really boast of and revel in. And I just think that contrary to all the intellectual debates, these 3 are not our weaknesses. I actually think that they could be the raw material for our success. And we can genuinely, swim in the tank and actually go on the front foot with respect to what we need to do. Therefore, this conference is all about connecting, collaborating, and celebrating. Look forward to an exciting few hours and hope that we all do very, very well. And to begin the proceedings, like always, we actually like to light our dreams. We want to light up our dreams. As a tradition, I think light, positivity, warmth is something that brings us all together, right? It's a place we all congregate. So let's begin today's session with a small lamp lighting ceremony. And my fellow director, Lakshmi Ramaswamy, is going to, for a change, watch herself light the lamp, because it's a video that we are going on virtual. So she's on stage and we're all going to watch the lamp lighting with a small prayer And hopefully, God bless, we'll also have a great time ahead. With that short process, we start our proceedings for the day. And like seems to be all events, right? We need to thank the people who backed us. And we're going to be doing this thanks a little bit in between rather than do this big mundane thank you note at the end, right? We would rather be doing these small tidbits where we recognize people who really supported us, right? So the honorable mentions here goes to our speaker sponsor, Anil, who you will be hearing in a little while now from Microsoft Technologies. Our event sponsors are iQuadrant, Wealth Management, and Loopify. For iQuadrant, I must say on behalf of all of our members that we would be very happy to set up individual appointments with the owner of iQuadrant because they are into wealth management and they are here to help SME owner managed businesses not only grow their business, but also find smart ways to improve their personal wealth, something which all of us are not very good at. So that's why they are here in the sponsor and we'll be happy to connect them. And a special mention to our own members, our own clients, right? Gasitaram, Karekal, and Venkat. Like always, they are the ones who sweeten our conferences. They gave us the sweets. And like we did last time, the guy from the West sent sweets all to our South members, and the South guy sent sweets to the West and North, right? That's brilliant. So thank you, everybody. And with that, right, sir? So we are here and on time, earlier than time, and extremely pleased to have Mr. S as our keynote speaker, right? And it was one of those immediate decisions when I was speaking to Rajesh a little while ago that, hey, next conference, we need him. And I was just hoping and fingers crossed that he will accept his schedules permits. I was just hoping, and he did, right? So genuinely, this conference began many months ago when in my mind it clicked that I want you, sir, for this conference, right? So it was extremely good. So it's my honor to give a brief introduction, right? So first, he is, as many of us know, he is the founder and managing director of Netcore. There is a tech issue. Yeah, I'm back, right? So he's the founder and managing director of Netcore Cloud. He's an entrepreneur based in Mumbai, India. Actually, many people I spoke with actually know him for his initial venture where he was genuinely one of the pioneers in Asia's.com, because as early as 1995, he had started India World. And he sold it off in 1999, even before the Y2K, right? So genuinely a very early investor in this space, right? And, he says in his introduction, when I look over 30 years, I've had 2 successes in 30 years. That caught my imagination, right? Here's somebody who is not afraid of talking about the challenges in sharing, learning, to be caught the humility and the way in which he was working. He then started Netcore, which today is Asia's largest marketing and tech company in customer experience. And many of you know him because you work with him one way or the other. And it's interesting that he blogs. I would encourage everybody to spend time at his blog. He blogs every day. And it is something that we owners would really use. Important fact is that Netcore actually grown 100x over 15 years. It's bootstrapped, profitable, and he's actually planning an IPO in 12 months. And I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of reasons behind it because he's one person who has started a family managed business. It is still a family owned business, but it's a professionally run business. He's into his 3rd CEO. And one thing came to mind when I spoke to him. It's something that both my sons keep talking about, right? They use a slang here saying that person is a sorted guy, right? I mean, for me, when I spoke to him, I can't describe it better. I mean, it's a colloquial word, but I found Mr. Rajesh Jain to be a sorted individual. And I think we can't ask for anything better than you to share your experiences. all of us here are eager to get started. Over to you, Mr. Jain. Thank you once again for being part of the session.
Thank you very much, Ramas, for the gracious introduction. And I think wonderful to hear about the growth of TAB also. So what I'll do is over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll give you an outline, which is in two parts. I'll elaborate on my story, my personal story. And second part is essentially about my learnings, which I hoped people would have told me much earlier than I sort of discovered them. I began as an entrepreneur in 1992 after I returned from the US. I'd gone there for my education, about 3.5 years I stayed there. And it was the advice that my father had given when I left. He said, finish your master's in 9 months, work for 2 years and come back, because he had done exactly that in the mid 60s, even though he had a family to support, his family had debt, but he came back to India. So the decision to come back was pretty much made for me. And the first 2.5 years were very difficult years. I came back, I thought I was God's gift to the country, IIT education, US education. But then everything pretty much failed. I tried multiple things in technology, but nothing worked out. And so in late 94, I went and spent a couple of months in the US trying to figure out what to do next. I had many ideas, and it was that time when the internet was growing. It just started off, in fact, in the US. And I decided that I would create India World, an electronic information marketplace to connect Indians worldwide. So it was the first internet portal. We launched very close to the time that Yahoo and eBay had done. And my wife, we had just got married, arranged marriage. I got her to work with me, essentially because I realized I didn't have to pay her. I didn't have much money after those 2.5 years of failing. So over those 4.5 years that we ran India World, we tried to raise capital multiple times, but failed each time for various reasons. But we were profitable, and that really helped me to be able to say no if the offer was not right for me. And finally, in late 99, as Ramas mentioned, India World was acquired by Satyam Infoway, SIFI, for what was one of the largest internet deals in Asia at that time, for $115 million, nearly 500 crores at that time. After that, I started Netcore. We had many early challenges. First 10 years, we did not grow at all. And what changed? So we were about 1 crore in revenue, 97 till about 2005 or so. I had a lot of ideas. We would create interesting products, but could not sort of convert them into commercial successes. And it was then that a conversation with a friend essentially helped me think differently. He said, Rajesh, what you need is someone else to run the business. You are very good at coming up with ideas, but you are not able to take those ideas and make them commercially successful. And essentially, that was the transition from me running the business. We were about 25, 30 people, I think, at that time, to bringing in first a chief operating officer in 2005, Girish, and a CEO in 2007, Abhijit Saxena. And that really started Netcore's growth. We are now roughly about 650 crores in revenue, extremely profitable. And as Ramas said, we are looking to IPO in the next year or so. The CEO decision in 2007 was not an easy decision for me. And that's sort of the transition point from owner run to owner managed. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later when I talk about some of my learnings. But the key reasons I made the decision were I realized that I was the bottleneck for Netcore's growth. While I could come up with ideas, making them into commercial successes was very difficult. Selling them was a very different proposition. Just because I had succeeded once in India World, it didn't mean that I could succeed again or every time. Abhijit came from a very different background from me. He was very sales oriented. He came from a digital media company. And when he joined, one of the key things was that I decided that I have to give him full freedom to run the business. Because if I would then interfere, it would be very difficult. There would be two sort of decision makers, there would be two leadership centers, and that would be a very difficult way to basically, I would impede on his authority really. So that was a call I made. And at that time, we also reserved 25% for stock options. So from 100% ownership, we came down to 75. From me running the business, it basically became a CEO run business. And I think that is really the sort of transition point in Netcore's story. We've had 3 CEOs since then. Abhijit was there for 4 years. Then Girish, who was the CEO, took over for 4 years. And Kalpit, who has worked in Netcore pretty much right since the early days, has been CEO for the last now almost 7 years. Bhavna and I, my wife Bhavna and I, are very active. Bhavna is our CHRO, so runs HR. She's a very people's person, and she's a CA, qualified CA, and she's sort of the soul of the company. She's very, she loves dealing with everyone. I'm exactly the opposite. I love to just sit in my room and think and read. While we are not public, we had got an offer to invest about 10 years ago. So I decided one day to calculate the per share growth in price over 10 years, the CAGR. We have some idea of what we would be valued today. So that is 25% CAGR. So we've grown. We were listed. Our share price has gone up nearly more than 10x in the last 10 years, probably closer to 27, 28%. We have been what I call a proficon. So a proficon, I coined this phrase, this word. It's basically for companies which are private, which are and profitable, and have a reasonably high, valued highly. You have the unicorns who take in a lot of money. Founders in most cases are left with 10, 20% or even less share. You're basically working 80 to 90% of your time for the investors who are there. And many of the unicorns today, which we see, are also burning a lot of cash. So in both my companies, India World and Netcore, the one key thing which I've done is ensure profitability for the most part of their journeys. Of course, the initial periods, you do need to do some little investment. But there's a clear path to profitability very early on. And that has been, I think, one of the best decisions that we've basically made. So we combine profitability with growth. It can't be one or the other. You have to be able to do both. So that's sort of the story. In between, I spent about 8 years on the periphery of politics, 2011 to 18 or so. I had worked first I'd built a 100% team with my own money for BJP and Modi's campaign 2011 to 14. And then 2015 to 18, I tried to create a movement for prosperity on my own, which didn't really work out. But that's a story for another day. So I try out different things. I try out many different things in my life. Of course, there are these 2 big successes, and of course, the BJP campaign that we did worked out very well. But there are also 30 failures through the years, almost at the rate of 1 a year. And that's sort of been the story of my life. Every failure is hard, but that's the terrain. If you're an entrepreneur, and I think all of you all will know that very well, it's 2 sides of the same coin. It's the journey also, which is we are there for. So let me come to some of the learnings in the next 10 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A right after that. So number 1 is, I think a business must have a single leader. I think it's very, very important. There cannot be dual power centers. So when you make the transition from an owner managed business to a professionally run, you have to give the person you bring in complete authority. Now, the person is going to be very different from you. So there are moments when you are going to also disagree. You should not disagree in public. because that then can undermine the authority. People will see that there is a difference of opinion between you, and that will not be good for the health of the business. So it's the second key point, therefore, is what a friend of mine, in fact, Girish, our second CEO, told me from his time at Intel: disagree and commit. So I may not agree with every decision the CEO is making. Even today, Kalpit and I talk a lot. We don't necessarily agree on every decision that is there, but I will not disagree with him in public. In public, we are all committed to the same goal. If I cannot persuade him, I have to follow his path. So disagree, I mean, you have to voice your opinion, because at the end of the day, you're the founder. You have your dreams, your view also of the future. But disagree and commit is the way forward for the business. The third point is that, and I think it's great. I mean, all of you all are very familiar with this. But what I had done, this idea of an advisory board. So what I essentially, again, it was about 12 or 13 years ago. I realized that while we used to do our internal reviews, etc., but it was all, I mean, all of us knew about the business, of course, very well. We were all involved. It was very difficult for me to be sort of directly critical of any decision or any path that was there. I needed an outside-in perspective. And it's very difficult to set up a formal board many times when you're, of course, running a sort of business, a private business. So we created the concept of an advisory board. So initially, I started with 2 people I knew, and we would run the company as if we are a publicly listed company. So we would meet every quarter. At the end of the quarter, the team would present the results. They would present an action plan going forward. And I'm sure TAB works on a very similar way. But that, I think, helped us a lot. And I recommend this today, in fact, to most entrepreneurs I meet, saying that create an outside-in view. Pick 2 people, 4 people. In Netcore today, it's 6 people from different walks of life. And you're basically asking them for 4 hours of their time every quarter. And then the team, basically the management team, will present it, take their inputs. It's not sort of a proper board. There's no fiduciary responsibility. You take those as inputs, and that works then as a guide for you for what you want to do, be able to do next. The fourth point is that even when you bring in someone else, it does not mean that you should be stepping back necessarily. So the founder / the family actually has a lot of strengths. There are some strengths which are very unique to us as entrepreneurs. We are able to take the long view, the build to last thinking that is there, the ability to take probably much greater risks than a professional CEO may take at points of time. Very important to be able to set the culture of the company, because that is what people will also look up to you for. So the founder and family has an absolutely important role to play going forward, and you should be able to be there for people. And that brings me to my 5th point, which is what is it that you can do? Because you effectively have a CEO once you make the transition, running the business. So pick 1 or 2 areas that you are good at, and then focus on those. In my case, I realized that I'm very good at taking that long view, working on sort of the breakthrough products. See, as entrepreneurs, when you're creating new things, you're also living in the future in some ways. You're creating for the future. So while the CEO has to work on ensuring that every quarter, the targets are met, the numbers are basically delivered on, the annual plan is worked on, you should be also able to come up with some breakthrough ideas. So it's a friend of mine from McKinsey who basically calls it the microscope and the telescope, that you need to be able to combine both of these things, the sort of granular view and the big picture view. And as founders, entrepreneurs, perhaps we are a little more, we are probably a little better at taking the longer view. So in Netcore today, I work on some of the breakthrough initiatives. I have a lot of customer conversations for some of these ideas. I have created a small team where we can try out these ideas. So like a labs, like a Netcore labs internally, which is there. So there is no reason to basically just say that, look, I've got someone else in and I've therefore no role in the company. It's never like that. I think you have to discover your own niche and then build on that. I'll also add a few more points which Ramas had suggested that I talk about, and from our conversation that we had a few months ago. So these are there, and of course, if you have any questions on any aspect, I'll be glad to answer. I write every day, like Ramas said. I write at rajeshjain.com. This is covering the last 2 years. I had a blog earlier from 1999 to 2012 at emergic.org. And I didn't write in between because I was working on the political side, so I didn't want any of my views to cloud the external sort of perspective. So the way I write, because I write for myself. So that's, I think, very important to understand. I'm not writing. I don't care if other people read it. If they benefit, fantastic. I'm very open. I write sort of what I think, and when you read it, you'll get a sense. I write on 3 themes: marketing, entrepreneurship, and India-related themes. And I realized that writing, I think, is very, very helpful. So it's not the social media type writing. I don't really have a social media presence. It's a little more thought through writing, because when I want to explore new areas, I think the best way is not just reading, but also writing about it. And that's what you'll find in a lot of cases on my blog. So the way I'm one of those early risers. I wake up at 4:30 every morning. And then I'll spend about an hour early morning. It's the dark and there is no disturbance. There are no emails. There are no WhatsApp messages to worry about. And that I find 1 hour in the morning a very, very good time slot for basically deep thinking. We should all create our own me time slot, whether it is morning, evening, because once after 7:38, the world starts. You don't, as entrepreneurs, you don't necessarily have everything in your control. So that the morning time, basically the thinking and the writing is I think, very essential. Sometimes I'll, of course, write on topics which I can share internally, and some days I'm writing for the blog. Typically, most of my blog writings, because I need a lot more contiguous time, happens on Saturdays and Sunday mornings. There are 3 books I will recommend. I mean, I'm sure you all will, many of you all would have read at least one or more of them. Jim Collins, of course, everyone has heard of Good to Great and Build to Last. But I think the best book is the one which came out just over a year ago, called Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0. And it is exactly for people like us. People who have basically gone through the initial stages and now want to create what he calls enduring great companies or build to last companies. So in the book, there is a map. I think chapter 6 has this map which brings together all of his ideas together. I would strongly recommend that you essentially, with your senior team, actually read follow the map, read the references that he has given. I, in fact, did the same thing for my team. I created a 6-part course where we would meet every alternate week for 1.5 hours. It gives a common vocabulary. It gives a shared vision of how to think long term. So if you can do that, if you need any help on the course, etc., that I created with the readings, just let Ramas know and I'll send it to him, or you can reach out to me directly. The second book is another very interesting book, Lessons from the Titans, Titans, by Scott Davis. So it's about the great companies in the sort of what we would today call the old economy. How GE, Danaher, once upon a time, the rise and the fall, Danaher, etc., they built their businesses. So how, like a company like Danaher, which is fantastic in doing acquisitions, how it created a Danaher business system internally, how it created an acquisitions factory. A lot of very good learnings. There are about 8 or 9 companies profiled in that book. And finally, there's another very good book called The Outsiders by Thorndike, which covers what he says is, and which I actually was a great insight for me, that the number one responsibility for a CEO is actually capital allocation. And the metric for measuring performance of a CEO is how is your per share price grown through the years. I think that's what I would recommend. And last point is that I follow this principle of stoicism. It's a little bit essentially on the lines of don't sweat about the things which are beyond your control, because as an entrepreneur, you will have a lot of those things. And much unhappiness is actually caused by things you can't control. So I'll stop there. And my email address is very simple, rajesh@netcorecloud.com. And if you all have any questions or references, just feel free to email me and I'll revert back. Thank you. Ramas, back to you. I think we can go through the Q&A now.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you very much. And amazing. I think the one regret as I had between you were speaking is half an hour wasn't enough. So we will correct it sometime. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity for a deeper engagement. So I have a bunch of questions. I'm now starting to see how to prioritize them, right? The first one was that it must not have been easy to entertain the thought of becoming professionally run, right? How did you even initially accept this thought and put it into action?
Great question. This is now going back 15 years, but I realized that basically we were failing. See, the hardest thing to accept in any venture that we do is that what you're doing is not going to work. That basically you have failed as failed in that venture. So the venture has failed. You are not the failure. So the entrepreneur has not failed. It's that particular idea of yours that has failed. And it was a friend of mine who basically said, Rajesh, why don't you look at getting in someone else to run the business? He said, why don't you just meet this person? And Abhijit was a friend of his. He said, just have a conversation with him and see where it goes. And that was the trigger. So it was at a time when I thought, things were just not going right. I had to do something very different. Me just coming up with yet another idea would not have mattered. It needed new leadership. But it took someone else to tell me that. I didn't have an advisory board at that time, but took someone else, a friend, to basically tell me that. The meeting happened. And then I realized that Abhijit brings a lot of complementary skills to me. The sales side, the external focus side, loves meeting customers and so on. And I said that would be a great start.
Interesting insight, right? Interesting insight. Good one. I think the advisory board figured a couple of times, but more than that, I liked your idea of how it is not the entrepreneur who failed. I think that was very insightful. Okay. Another very practical questions. Many of our owners are into family managed business transitioning. That means they have their family members, their brothers, friends, multiple people in the business, right? And when you start off as being peers, equal team. And now you just mentioned that, it's important for somebody to be a leader. So when you have multiple partners, how does somebody even decide who is going to lead and how do we manage it?
Great question, Ramas. In fact, this is a question which comes up not just when there are multiple family members, even when there are multiple co-founders in a business. And I was telling this to a friend of mine recently when she approached me. She had just started off a company with a co-founder, and the same idea basically applies here. It is that doesn't matter how many peers are there, whether it's multiple family members, multiple co-founders, there has to be one person in charge. There is one person who is above everyone else. You cannot, companies are basically not democracies. They are authoritarian, they are dictatorships. Okay, in the sense that there has to be one person who has to call the shots. Okay, I tried multiple times to have co-founders in my very early days. And I realized, a lot of times you are just, it's like Pehle aap, like who will make the decision first? Every decision you think, okay, I should maybe go and talk to my colleague, whether he or she will agree or not. And that just slows down the process dramatically. So there has to be one person, even if there are 4 or 5 of family members there, one person has to be designated as the clear leader. I think that is the key in any business, because without that, you'll have 5 different competing visions. Everyone, you'll just be talking among yourselves. You need to spend the time externally, talking to customers, perhaps investors, etc. And the internal energy is then saps away because you've got family relationships also to then worry about. But so have one person in charge.
Absolutely. Amazing that, because the fact that you said that companies are not a democracy, it may have sounded a little tougher, but honest to God, a body needs one head. But fundamentally, I could make a comment out of it as well. It occurred to me that if companies want to be a democracy and you want to be nice to everybody, go try an election, right? And let's see how we work, right? So, I mean, that's the first thought that came to my mind. Long-term country democracy is good. I think if you want speed, you need to be sort of agile. I think a follow-up question to that, right? Now we go from a little partners and friends to spouses, right? Many people found it interesting that you do share a relationship in terms of a professional relationship and a significant chunk of activity, right? It's not just shareholding, but working inside the company. So are there any pros and cons that you both have figured out?
So very good point. And so Bhavna and I have worked together for probably most of the last 27 years, except for a few years in between when she took a break when our son Abhishek was born in 2000 and around 2005 timeframe, just after that. So the good thing is that essentially that we are very different people. We are very different interests that we have. I'm the sort of thinking types. Bhavna is so versatile; she can basically take up anything, and she's very people person. She has a great attention to detail. When we did India World, even though her background was in finance, she handled the entire website development. We managed 200 websites for corporates. She would handle that. She learned to design everything on her own. She's completely independent in that sense. She learns new things. So I think it is very important to have a clear domain that is there. Okay. And, there is, I mean, we can all talk about work-life balance. There really isn't, even in the evening, of course, now it's largely work from home. So even through the day, we do talk about business. You can't, as founders, as owners, you can't really switch off. Okay. Business is your life. Really. It's a life and death matter for most of the time that you're running it. But I think creating the single line I would say is create specific domains that you are good at. So there is no sort of friction in at work, which then can translate to a hard relationship at home. And there are many times, and listen to your spouse, because I think they see the world differently, and they will give you very important advice, because we get very tunnel visioned in the way we think. So they have a very different perspective. So I think that makes a big difference.
It does. And unfortunately, we have a bunch of questions, which I'm going to take responsibility to write down and email it to you, Rajesh. We'll find a way. Leave it to you. Maybe it can be part of your blog. Sometime you can answer, sort of try it out. But I have one final question I just can't resist, right? So if there is one thing that you wish you had done differently, what would that be?
Very good question. I think the one thing I've always felt is that the acceptance of failure, okay, has always taken me much, much longer than I should have. And that there's a big time impact of that. And the last few months of a failure are very, very difficult. And it does not matter if one has failed 5 times or 10 times. So now I think one of the things which as entrepreneurs we have to accept, and people tell you, but then we are not willing to give up on our idea, our dream associated with that idea. Okay, if we believe it, we can still make it work. So there's one thing, I think it's that listen to other people when things are not going right. Look at the tea leaves, look at the signals, that if there is, things are not working, just doing the same thing again and again will not make that successful. Waiting for that magical next customer order is just not going to always materialize. So be open when things are going fine, you don't have to worry about anything. It's a great time. It's the problem happens when things are not going right. And then sometimes you have to close one door to open new doors. That's what I've always realized, that once you shut off something, only then can you start looking ahead at the future.
Brilliant. Actually, I was going to sum up your speech, but I can't really add anything more to the last bit that you said. So I'm just going to leave it at that, because that's probably the thought that I think all of us should take away. Quickly move on. I think that's a brilliant takeaway. So, Mr. Jain, Rajesh, thank you very much. Again, I said, I think all of us now understand why you came into our mind, because there are very few people who have done it successfully, prepared to share their mistakes and learnings in the way you spoke, right? There are many people who will talk from the top of a pulpit, giving a preaching mode, but not people talk as a peer. So genuinely respect it. I hope we can do good things together. I would indeed come back to you for advice as well. And thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Ramas. And just one final point, rajeshjain.com/proficon, and you'll find these links from the left side of my blog, has a lot more writings on entrepreneurship. I think you'll probably find that very useful, everyone. Thank you.
And it's going to be emailed to all the members for sure. So we commit to sending that over because that's part of what anyway we wanted to do. So we will do that. Thank you again. Cheers. Bye. Great. After that very, very, very exciting kind of a session, I think it set the tone. It set the tone for everything that entrepreneurship is all about. Before going on to our next important session, we're going to bump into technology, right? And I would be very happy to welcome our speaker next. But before that, a few honorable mentions. Right, none of this conference would ever be possible without our members, right? Many of our members. And, we have a member advisory committee. So that consists of Dr. Kalpit, Rakib, Kunal, Ravi, Rakesh, Israel. They've been on the ball with us sometimes many times a month, sometimes once a month in this conference, helping sponsors, panel discussion, ideas, agenda. They've really contributed very well. Not only that, they have been representing all of what we are doing inside their boards, getting the ideas and connect. So big thank you. A big round of applause and very heartfelt because this is a conference that we all are getting together and doing. So thumbs up. Thank you very much, team. And a member support, Aditya, is being the second year in a row when our control center is sort of established as the R&D center. He provides all kinds of support and assistance for our tech team out there. Appreciate it. Thank you, Aditya. Really appreciate your help. So moving forward, it is my pleasure and honor to then welcome our next speaker for the session. Incidentally, a note of gratitude as well, because he's also a sponsor speaker for us. Now, he's going to jump onto the latest buzz, right? Technology, right? Digitization has become the key thing. Now, Anil is a leader who is very passionate, and I know that personally, right? I do interact with him quite a bit. I understand his passion and the way he builds his business, right? And he has successfully deployed business solutions to a lot of companies around the world, right? In fact, India is something he's considering, but he's doing a lot of work for SMEs around the world, right? He is the CEO of CloudFronts. He has worked as a Microsoft partner. They are a gold partner, and he's lived abroad for many years, right? And he spent the majority of his career with Microsoft technologies, right? And to me, what is very important is for us to know our business is our and not to automate it. But as entrepreneurs, very often we are the ones who are making the decision about which app to use, which ERP to use, which technology to use, and we end up getting a lot of bits and piece advice from many places and trying to integrate it. And trust me, it's a long-term challenge. We get started very quickly. That's what we entrepreneurs are known for. But trust me, technology has a long tail. You get started, it doesn't come, you spend a lot of money, as many of us who have got into ERPs and technology know it bleeds a lot of money. Now, among that stuff, actually, Microsoft is known for MS Office, right? Word, Excel, I mean, there is no second. But what we don't know is Microsoft has a bunch of other things which are integrated. If only we knew. I am also one person who's learned it recently, and I'm trying to get my organization shifted completely in. That prompted this session. Many of us feel Microsoft Office is a default. There's no question, and Microsoft is a great company to work with, but perception also in SME is that it is expensive. So we're going to hear somebody who tells us that it is not. So I hope you do, by the way. That's good. So you see, I've set you up for it. I set you up for it. I couldn't help it. I couldn't resist it. I've just set you up for it. So, the India joke, right? After listening to everybody is going to say, so might as well I start right here. So we are talking to entrepreneurs. We're going to spend our own money. And Anil, you are an entrepreneur. Welcome, my friend. Thank you very much for being here. Over to you.
Thank you, Ramas. And first and foremost, thank you to Mr. Jain for this wonderful insights that just happened. I have 15 short minutes, so I'll get started. I'm going to share my presentation. So just give me a second. Okay. Let me know. I'm just going to share my screen and let me know once you see it. There.
You're on.
You're on? Okay, awesome. So my session today is on 15 ways to calm your nerves before a presentation. No, that's a joke. So I am a Microsoft shop, and we solve complex challenges with Microsoft, complex business process challenges. So a little bit about myself, so that will give you a context on what today's session is and why I'm excited about it. So we are working on Microsoft technologies globally as Rama said, across US, APAC, and starting to get a little bit into India now. Some of the sectors we focus on, everything from services to manufacturing, pharma, retail, nonprofit, etc. These are some of our customers already in India whom we've enabled transform into this ecosystem so that they're not looking and having hodgepodge mix of systems, not having manual systems, not relying predominantly on people and emails. Eternity Lifestyles, Titan Labs. Titan Labs is one of the members here at TAB, and we've digitally transformed them across their entire pharmaceutical manufacturing, supply chain, sales operations on the Microsoft platform. Enrich Salons, you all get a haircut, right? So Enrich Salons, we've helped them get the most out of their Microsoft deployments. And then finally, the bottom right is a company called FarmLink, which is a greenfield agro venture optimizing supply chain within India. It's a Swiss-India joint venture, and we've helped them deploy Microsoft solutions to run their operations. All right. So a little bit about myself, Ramas, thank you so much already for doing the introduction. But I spent 15 years predominantly working in the Microsoft ecosystem across India and the US. So I started my career in US. I started CloudFront in Mumbai after returning back from the US in 2012. And of course, I must point out to what Mr. Jain said at the start of his career, that he came back from the US and he said, everything is fantastic. I've come from US. I must be great in India, which is not the case. So, but that said, and so I totally agree with him. And that said, we are a fast growing 50% organization. And then now I'll get to the main point of today's session. So I love solving complex challenges. I'm a very process guy. And I want to use this term called simplifying our life, or simplifying our work with technology. Simplifying, I Googled the word simplify and look what it says. Make something simpler or easier to do or understand. Something could be anything, our life, our work, our personal life. Today's focus is our work, of course. But that statement, making things simpler and easier to understand or to do, has a very calming effect. I have leveraged tools to get to this level of simplification, and I use that to thrive and grow ourselves and our customers. So I'll focus on this. So a few questions for everyone, right? Day-to-day productivity challenges. So today's conversation is on day-to-day challenges. So think about this. My email inbox has hundreds, maybe thousands for a lot of you, emails that I regularly search for to find a specific communication and then revert to it. It's very inefficient, it's very stressful, but many of us do that. Shit, I forgot to reply to that email or complete that task. It happens maybe regularly to a lot of us. And this is something that you could be at your dining table, or you could be out at the mall, or you could be in a movie and you remember something and shit, I forgot to do this. And people around you think, what happened? He was fine 2 minutes ago. So we use WhatsApp. If you use WhatsApp as a communication channel across the organization, and you're scrolling up and down through personal messages and to your WhatsApp stuff, and constantly getting onto WhatsApp to know what's happening and to get anxious about it. And then maybe a better way to keep everything in a single place, protect the data, documentation, everything about the organization, or maybe all of the above. So if these are the things that sort of give you a picture of what you do every day, or what are some of the challenges that you face every day, I want to talk about tools that I have used and that I have leveraged for a lot of our customers and our team as well. So number one is email management. Efficient email management starts with the philosophy of having a zero inbox at the end of every day. I have imbibed this for the last couple of years at least. Initial parts were hard, a lot of cleanup, a lot of processes to make it routine, and then it's become sort of a thing that I look forward to at the end of every day, sometimes multiple times in a day. But then that has become the culture of the organization. A zero inbox, and people know that they've got taken care of things that they need to. How do you do that? Archive old stuff, get rid of all the old emails. Automation is possible to move all of that out. Second, set reminders on emails. There are two types of emails we get. Number one type of email is for our knowledge, where we are CC'd. We get hundreds of emails on CC. Move that out into a different folder. And there is another type of email that requires an action. There are two types of actions: urgent action and non-urgent action. I would definitely have a separate session on what is urgent action, because I don't think 99% of the things classify as urgent. But anyways, I digress. Urgent action and non-urgent actions. If it's urgent, you reply. If it's not urgent, you set a reminder on it. And wonderful tools are available to set reminders, and then for those reminders to remind us, and then you move that out into a folder structure. Archive, set reminders, use folder structures. I've created this wonderful course that we all within our company follow. It's freely available. This presentation will be available to you guys as well. But you can look at it, some of the things that I just talked about. So that's email management. Second is task management. So there's a tool called To Do I use that is part of this ecosystem. But I'll read the definition here because it's very important. A to-do list is important because it keeps your tasks and obligations in order. An organized list makes things possible, makes things more manageable, keeps you mentally focused on the tasks at hand. That last part, keeping us mentally focused, I believe somewhere hidden in that is an ROI conversation of our time, because that's what is limited for us. So to do, this is the app, what it looks like on our mobile device. It's also on our browser and within our desktop. On the left-hand side is what you see when you log on. You can create different lists. In the middle, you see that you can create tasks, set reminders, due dates, etc., repeat them, recurring, etc. And on the extreme right-hand side, you can see that what that list looks like. At the top, you see what are the tasks that are open. At the bottom, you see stuff that is completed. Second is To-Do takes care of my stuff. The planner is a sort of hand-in-hand tool that takes care of any projects going on within the company. So a planner is a lightweight mobile and web-based application which we can use to manage internal tasks, internal projects, see progress, etc. This is what a planner looks like. In the middle, you will see all the different ongoing buckets of tasks, and within them, the smaller tasks and their due dates, and then you can set tasks and due dates and just use that in your conversations, in your meetings. So this is something that we use at CloudFront for some of our teams. So on the left-hand side, you can see there is something for the support team, there is something for HR, there is something that is used by the accounts team. So email management, to-dos, planner, some of the tools available to you if you're using this ecosystem. And finally, communication, right? So a common communication platform across the organization to chat, to create channels for communication between certain team members, to manage all our documentation, to keep everything secure within one single platform, and hence move out of what was otherwise traditionally, I don't know, SMS, WhatsApp, whatever you guys are using, whatever anybody is using. And this is what a simple screen of Teams looks like. On the left-hand side, you can see the different themes you can create. It's very valuable. So this is our actual, what we use at CloudFront, but there's a general theme. So any updates to the organization, any wins, anything you want to talk about, it's in general channel. You can tag team members, etc. And below that, you can see there is a leadership team, right? A leadership team is a set of people who only have access to that channel, and the communication, documentation, reports, etc. published within that. And on the right-hand side, you can see whatever is happening in that particular channel. You can put all your documentation also within this. So now this becomes a single common repository of everything. All communication, all meetings, all documentation, all reporting, everything within this single platform, which is very helpful. So there is a productivity hack also, which says, oh, I don't have to remember where to go. There is one single platform, which is Teams, to get to everything. And this is what it looks like on our mobile device. On the left, you can see again all the channels. On the middle is my communication ongoing, which includes one-on-one chats, meeting reminders, so I can pick up calls, etc., just like I do on Zoom and anything else. And on the right-hand side, I can see all appointments coming up. So we've talked about email management, its productivity. We've talked about to-dos or list management. We've talked about small projects, etc., happening using Microsoft Planner. And then finally, a company-wide communication platform on MS Teams. So my session is simple benefits to simplify our lives, right? So these are simple hacks. We can organize our day-to-day work and commitments. So declutter our mind. Decluttering our mind is very essential because I think a lot of us use our minds as a repository, and with tools, we can release our mind from all that and focus on other things. Of course, keep everything secure. Find peace of mind. When I say peace of mind, you could find more time for growth, for strategic thoughts, for your family, whatever is that important to you. A decluttered mind allows for creativity. And finally, you will create a mindset and an organization which is technology driven. And what better time than these 2 years of the pandemic to learn the value of technology for our organizations. These are just some very simple benefits to simplify day-to-day productivity. There are much bigger tools, like I was mentioning, Titan Labs, who've deployed their entire manufacturing platform on the Microsoft ecosystem. And now they swear by this platform. So it's this and long-term as well. And that's my session, guys. I want to do a further deep dive, how you can do further in the future. Send me your emails or with problems, etc. And maybe we'll set up a time next month to discuss, and we'll prepare a demo for you guys or a discussion. And you can follow us here on LinkedIn, YouTube, cloudfluence.com. Cloudfluence.com is the single source of truth for everything we do. And with that, thank you so much.
Amazing, Anil. First things first, compliments to you for being so punctual. I mean, you sort of, finished bang on time, and that's not a joke, right? So that's great, right? Now, there is a bunch of questions. So those questions are going to be sent to you, and I'm not going to address them here simply because, like a sponsor, you will get a forward connect with all our members who want to connect with you, ask you the questions straight away, right? But I do need to ask one, which I like, one question I like. What is the one risk that one can really need to be careful of as a SME entrepreneur?
Of getting too involved in the smallest of things. You don't have the time for that. You need to create leadership. You need to create it fast. You need to, and in that, you need to be observant about yourself.
Okay, I get that. Okay, great. I think again, a very good answer. And I'm surprised you didn't give a tech answer. That itself is good. This is business IT. So appreciate it. Genuinely. So like I said, thank you very much. We will schedule a session for all our MS enthusiasts, business owners for you. And I'm sure we can engage. You already have a common client. You have a common connection with us. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Moving forward, it is that time of the conference where we engage with a larger audience. So we have a couple of very interesting topics, which, like I said, was actually generated and created by our members in our member advisory committee. 2 topics of extreme significance, which are important for all of us. We have a bunch of owners waiting to get started. And at this time, I pass the baton to Ravi Mani, who will then from here on take on the session. Ravi, over to you.
Yeah, I'm just on my way.
Absolutely.
The first session with the member panel is going to be, as you can see, are we ready for new technological evolution? I think this is a very interesting topic. There is so many new things happening today. So it's important that we get prepared and transform our businesses so that we can address these technological evolution and take advantage of it. So let's hear from our members what they have to say about this. So let me welcome the first panel, which is Rakesh, Kamal, Robert, Malay, Vinay, Devi, and Govindrajan. This incidentally is one person from each of the 7 boards that we're having. So, yeah. Okay, everybody in? I'm just giving a minute for everybody to be in. Vinay is in. So I don't see Robert. That's the only missing link. Okay, let's get started then.
Give a second, Ravi. I think we have somebody you can get started, but we have somebody sort of coming into the waiting room. We'll get them added as soon as it comes. You get started.
I think it must be Robert, right? Okay. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this panel discussion. So we will take one, I'll ask a question and we'll ask a couple of members to react to the question and we'll take it through. So first question I want to ask, start off this discussion by asking Govind,
Yes, sir.
So in the last few years, obviously there have been a lot of technologies that have come up. So what are the various things that you have embraced in your business in the last few years? If you can tell us, share with us, I think it will be interesting for others to know.
Yeah, we are good evening to all. We are in the manufacturing of precision tools and dies, where there is a very need of our for this in entire world. But India is always depend on the other countries for Japan, Taiwan, and China and the US and all. But now Indian government is showing more interest on developing tool rooms. In Pondicherry, there is 100 crores they have invested for training and development of tool room in Pondicherry. We are one of the major players manufacturing tools and dies in Pondicherry, in a specialist area called tungsten carbide tools and dies. Previously, in around 2017 till 17, we are using conventional machines. So I found that there is a need of high technology machines, and I went with a Japanese manufacturer. The manufacturer is called Mikino. We got a wire ADM machines where the precision levels are very high, and we got this machine in 2019. And there is another manufacturer called Mazak, a Japan manufacturer. We got these two high precision machines where the same Indian machines cannot give the this high technology accuracy at all. So we got these machines and we are able to compete with the Japanese manufacturer and Taiwan manufacturer and the US manufacturers. So this has given more advantage to us as well as to my customers, that they can able to get the product in India itself. Previously they were importing. Now we are able to supply here.
Wow, so you have embraced a lot of technologies over the past few years, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that requires a lot of courage, I must say, especially in a very competitive industry. What about you, Robert? Robert, can you hear me? You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, what are the technologies that you have embraced over the last few years? If you can tell us what is the activity you're in, that will also help us.
I'm Robert. My company's name is Workflow Automation. Am I audible very clearly?
Yes. Go ahead.
Nice. So we do manufacture automation special purpose machines. So it is everything is tailor-made, custom built, and nothing is standard. So every machine is individually, crafted, designed, and proved to the customer.
Okay.
So this is what we do. So major technology updation is very, very vital in our type of business, because we do a lot of automation SPMs, we do a lot of test tricks, and we do more focus on import substitution. That is one area which we are trying to, our USP is that compared to, so we do a lot of machines they import from other countries. We do focus on that particular machines, and we have got a beautiful award of CIA Best Innovation Award in 2019.
Oh, wow.
Developing first time in the world test rig, and we supplied to Dellner in UK. So technology definitely plays a pivotal role, and we are we have to be so fast running. So that's why we are all over world traveling to update our technology. And one recent technology updation was during this COVID. We were not able to attend all these exhibitions, but then China beautifully crafted this virtual exhibition where we were able to get into the technology and focus on what machines they are manufacturing and what is the updation of the technology, and we had a one-to-one discussion in a virtual exhibition. So this is some of the examples.
What's the name of that platform or whatever?
No, that is actually virtual exhibition only.
Oh, okay. Because I think most of us are struggling to find out this kind of tools.
Yeah.
Because virtual exhibition is going to be one of the norms in the future as well.
And
Great, Robert.
that is much more effective also.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would now get on to understand a little bit more about what's the kind of impact we have seen in different industries, the technologies have impacted, the way the technologies have impacted. So let me ask Vinay, what is his view on what's the kind of impact you have seen? You are a consultant, right, Vinay? And therefore, I want to see, you must have seen technology impacting several industries where you are consulting in. What are the things you want to share with us? Unmute yourself, please. Yeah.
Yeah, Ravi, thank you very much and good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
So as a consultant, when we started career in 1998, the businesses were not that much technology driven. And if you look at the businesses today, in today's era, it's a lot of technology driven businesses we could see. Like since last 2 years, at least because of pandemic, there is a lot of change in the technology also and the business way of execution also. For example, in recently in one of the organization has deployed tabs on the shop floor to capture the production data so that they could do the analysis effectively and take further decision, because previously everything was manually.
Oh, you mean tablets?
Yeah,
tablets, you mean?
Tab itself with the software technology,
Okay.
they could able to take out maximum data and take the actions because of that. Similarly, if you look at the Mr. Robert is into the special purpose machine manufacturing, like he also might be using some kind of a technology based on robotic technology or electromechanical technology, which helps machines to like in one of the organization, the 15 different production stages has been clubbed in one machine, and from the 15 operations it has reduced to 2 operations. So that drastic change because of technology you can easily understand, and the business are really growing up 10 times compared to what they were previously back in 2 years.
Okay, so you're saying there can be tremendous growth because of the technology.
Yeah.
Right. Now let me ask a very interesting personality her view on the impact of technology, because she's coming from a very different industry. Devi, all yours. You need to unmute yourself, please.
Good evening, Ravi sir. That's a very interesting question, by the way. So it is drastically impacting all the businesses, like right from manufacturing, construction, and the telecom industries, and starting from everything. Like it drastically impacts the service industries too, right?
What are you into, by the way?
We are into education. That is, like, we send students abroad for higher education. We do career counselings and all that. And
Okay.
one basic impact that I see, and I educate my students, are all about certain things. On certainly, though it's going to be little things, it creates a drastic impact in such a way that earlier, when we used to go watch a movie, you go to the theaters and do it, right? But now at the moment, because of the development of all these technologies like 3G, 4G, and 5Gs and things like that, like you are able to see everything right from your phone. Yeah, and you have all the technologies within your smart TVs at home, isn't it? So you watch everything from Netflix, Amazon, so you have everything right from there. And it is drastically affecting the media industries too, because where they were trying to remake all the movies, like, isn't it? Like when there's a new movie or something, like they copy it or they remake it in such a way it is all established in local language too. But now you have an option of the subtitle, or like you even can change the languages. So the industry wise, if you say, it is a huge impact that it is causing, and it is significantly more important for all business owners to adapt it and run according to it. Otherwise, we are going to be losing the game.
Yeah, that's a great insight. One of the things that I have seen with technology is it's very easy to say I want to implement technologies, but it's always very challenging. There's always resistance to change. So I'm going to ask Vinay to share his view while he is implementing technologies, or what are the things that you have seen your clients while adopting technologies. What are the challenges these guys face?
Yes, Ravi. Of course, whenever you want to bring any changes, there will be a resistance from every level, right? Like for example, when in India, when our ex-Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi had brought the computers, there was a lot of resistance from the all the people of India. But today you could able to understand how the computers are very important for us, and without computers, our lives is nothing. Similarly, whenever we are bringing any changes in the business, the first resistance starts coming up from the employees, because employees start feeling that it's a overburden for them. It's extra work from them without having any extra revenue with them. So it's a very normal human behavior where it will start first with the resistance. And I've seen many industries, including multinational as well as the small industries, where 3 people are working. The change by the human beings are very common, and overcoming on that, the methodology is also very interesting journey. So everyone enjoys that journey. But without change, you can't grow. Without resistance, people don't understand why the changes are important for us. So I will say resistance are there, and the way how we look at it are very important for us, for any business.
And Rakesh, what's your take on this? You are running a big company in transformers, so you adopt a lot of technologies, and you must be facing challenges adopting the technologies. What kind of challenges you face, and any tips on what you use to overcome these challenges?
Thank you, Ravi. Good evening, all. Yes, the adaptation in our kind of industry or manufacturing industry typically started after COVID. So COVID had given a lot of impact that we need to change. Yes, there were challenges. There are challenges. In fact, this is a cultural change. Typically, in many of the companies like SMEs, particularly, and country like India, the adaptation, like Vinay mentioned also, it is not. They are employees or owners are not reluctant to adapt the technology. It is the habits and practices that they feel that it is cumbersome or tiresome to connect with this. At the same time, there is a gap between the education point of view. The technology available as well as the people working in the SME side are not that kind of tech savvy. I will not use education. It will be tech savvy kind of stuff. Whether it's like you mentioned about Teams, where we also have a challenge working from Zoom to MS Teams. So same challenges are experienced when you are adapting from a analog based rugged machine to a HMI or PLC based machines. So that's the challenge what I have seen in my industry.
Okay, right. Let's take it to another level, the discussion. I would like to move from the past to the future now. So I want to understand from you what kind of emerging technologies you think are interesting for us to consider for the next 3 to 5 year horizon. What are the various things that's happening which you feel are critical to acknowledge and take care of? So I think Malay has not spoken till now. Let me give him a chance. Malay, will you, because Malay is from the IT industry, by the way, and therefore I think he should be given the first shot.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes. So basically, we work with certain kind of technologies which possibly will leverage in the future for next 3 to 5 years. The major technologies where we are working on is the industrial IoT, AR/VR, and business analytics.
I think I need to expand a little bit. These are all jargon, yeah? Nobody will understand.
Yeah. Correct. So when I say industrial IoT, I think the similar example Mr. Vinay gave, that he had seen some machines fitted with some tablets and the data coming in. So we do that. So we pull the data from the machines, and which will help any customers to overall see the equipment efficiency. It will help in predictive.
So you're talking about Internet of Things. Basically,
yes,
you have internet inbuilt into things itself. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think Rakesh, you've already done something on that side, right?
Yeah.
Rakesh is already working on transformers that's going to have internet built in. Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
so this will help customer to achieve better performance, increase efficiency, and it will also reduce cost. because of the unavoidable downtime and those kind of stuff. Apart from that, we also work with AR, VR, the similar example which Sir talked about, the virtual exhibition. So we work on augmented reality and virtual reality, which probably helps most of the companies in sales to showcase their products, in training to their employees, in servicing of their products, and also it can be used to review the product designs and those kind of stuff. So with AR and VR coming into the play, I think the gap has been so much reduced. You are able to showcase your overall technology or your any size of equipment to anywhere without carrying it or taking it to anywhere.
But
Like
are these
in
technology
exhibitions.
available in the sense of product on in the off-the-shelf products are available?
Yes, yes, they are very easily available, and at most there are many service providers like us in the market who probably have been working on these technologies,
Okay,
and
great.
it has evolved a lot in last couple of years.
Wonderful, yeah. Kamal.
Yeah, and
sorry, Kamal, what's your? He's also into IT, by the way. He's also into IT services. So, Kamal, briefly about your company, and then you can say what are the emerging technologies that you are talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi, and good evening to everyone. So we are Adent Analytics, and we are into data analytics technologies. We're also we are also a Microsoft Gold partner, and we focus on delivering data analytics solution using different Microsoft technologies, which are primarily cloud-based. So I think there are two important trends in technology. One is moving everything to cloud. Right. So all the technologies, all the solutions are now moving towards cloud. So instead of having software installed on the servers which are there in your house, people are using more software as solutions which are posted on cloud, whether it is CRM system or ERP system or data analytics solutions, for example. So that's one area which is emerging fast, and the huge advantage it has is you don't need to spend any money on the infrastructure. So infrastructure is taken care by large organizations like Microsoft or Google or Amazon Web Services. The other trend which I see is data analysis based solutions, right? So every organization is generating huge amount of data. But are the organizations able to use that data effectively? That's a big challenge. For example, 90% of the data which has been generated till now has been generated in last 2 years. But are organizations able to use that data analysis effectively? That's a challenge. And there are a lot of technologies which are emerging to help organizations to use their data effectively. And means the organizations which are using data effectively are 23 times more likely to acquire new customers than organizations which are not able to use data effectively. Yeah, so
it's an interesting statistic. Okay, great. So moving from the IT, let me ask Rakesh to share his view on this same emerging technology. Let us see what his perspectives are. So he is an end user company. He manufactures transformers. So let's see what his views are in terms of emerging technology.
So your question about 3 to 5 years, how the technology would be. So I will go behind, like 3 years back, I was thinking transformer will not have, or our industry will not have any kind of technology, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay. And suddenly after COVID, we found that what can be adopted. Like one of the session was digitalization. Was one of the session was conducted by TAB at that time, sometime. And I thought that we will start with HMI, PLC, and the machine automation. We adopted after June to 2020. We asked some companies to come to our place and get our machineries integrated. But people were reluctant. That was the challenge. What I mentioned about adapting, or rather coming to a conclusion whether this will. But the problem was getting solved was the kind of like counters, manual data was getting converted. Now we found now it is getting converted into also IoT, Internet of Things. So a transformer as a whole, from backend, that is manufacturing side, now I'm going to customer side. I'm providing a customer with a IoT solution for my own product. So it was completely changed in a 1 year transformation. And we found ample resources available for any size, such kind of manufacturers, particularly startups who can provide this kind of solution at a very cheap rate. Yes, the rate were like 1 lakh, now it has reduced down to 25,000. Yesterday we come up with a product with 15,000 also. So now we are also started getting data from the IoT. So now we are finding AI, which I never thought that AI would be applicable to our industry. Again, I'm coming to a point where technology is getting adapted. So we are thinking now how to work on this. Now this is another startup that is going to be there. I don't know what will happen another 3 to 5 years. In fact, what every time humans or we are going to be behind the technology. That's the only message I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting. Okay, so all of us love to invest in technology, right? We want to be in ahead of the game, and rightly so. But I think we should also check what's the kind of ROI we're getting from these technology investments. I think that's an important activity. I think we should do it for any investment. In fact, I recommend that for every investment that we make, we must calculate ROI, which we don't tend to do. So, but finding out the ROI of a technology investment is tricky. I want to ask the views of our owners. Well, how do they evaluate ROI on technology? So, Robert, can you share your views on this?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to tell you, any big companies whom we work with, they specifically very clear-cut ROI. Only then they work on. So, for example, I've been working a machine for gravity die casting machine for Sundaram Clayton, where we have completely developed the machine in such a way that there is no, nothing else is left. Only on power where we were able to work. So we worked on the latest technology called servo and incorporated and proved that, took out the reading, and we found out that ROA, we were able to save the power for almost 40%. That is, the ROA for the investment, what we invested was almost, it was coming back in 2.5 years.
Oh, so you use the payback period and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they were willing to change for the entire 40 machines.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is how it works on, where it is inevitable, where there is feasibility to improve. And the ROA plays a predominant role in all big companies because that is what is the catch.
Okay, right. And Govindarajan, what do you think? I mean, you also invested in new technologies. Yeah. How do you compute ROI?
Actually, we are clearly categorize the localized item and which is the products which are being imported. So the imported items are being, orders are based with us. We know what is the previous products and what is the new products which is done in the latest technological machines. So we are working on that, the high precision items which is done on the machines, and the new customers are coming in. So we know what is the volume of business we are getting in, and what is the throughput calculations we are doing on each and every product. So this way we are calculating on that. We have this year in 2021-22 we have implemented ERP, where it is an intangible product, where the calculations are a little bit difficult, where the results are will get after 1 or 2 years, I think. So tangible products we can able to easily calculate, but intangible products we are finding it.
Okay. So I get it. So intangible is more difficult, but tangible, you're saying we can calculate the ROI.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. One of the ways to calculate ROI is also try to prepare a kind of a business plan over the next 3 years. Try to project what kind of revenues we can get out of the new technology, and then work out the ROI. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what probably all of you are using.
For 22-23, we are on the process.
Okay, great. Okay, one last point which I want to cover is I want to get an idea of specific examples of what kind of new things or new technologies, or how do you think your technology or new technology will shape your business, your specific business in the coming future? So let me take the views of Kamal, Devi, and Malay in that order. Okay. So Kamal, you want to go first? How do you think technology will shape your business in the future?
Sure. So, being a technology company, that's our future, right? So, and emerging technologies will shape and will challenge us, of course. So, two set of technologies I think will shape our future significantly. One is digitization across the industry, right? So, like when people move from paper-based organization to computer-based organization, I think the next evolution is from spreadsheet-based organizations to system-based organizations, right? Whether again it is ERP systems or CRM systems. So I think those digitization efforts will shape our business, where we see a lot of opportunities to grow.
Okay.
The other area is, of course, AI, ML, AI machine learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning based technologies, which are basically coming out of proof of concept stage to actual applications. So those are the other two areas, AI and ML, where we see a lot of opportunities for us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Devi, your take. You're into education, counseling. How do you think technology will impact your business?
Technology is drastically impacting our business. In the future, I really feel you imagine that I am sitting and talking to my parents, and interacting with them and solving a student career-related solutions, something. You imagine if a robot is sitting right here, and it will be more magnificent in a way that it can capture all the ideas integrated. So that is what the artificial intelligence is actually trying to do, isn't it? When Alexa can do it, okay, when it is going to be something else, somebody can replace my potential too, isn't it? So in that way, the technology will be amazing. Earlier, we had to develop infrastructure for our office for us to attract the walk-ins to the service industry, especially. It mainly functions on the office setup and things like that. But now, after this technology, at the moment, I am able to acquire my students from all over India because of the video conferencing, the Zoom technologies and things like that. And in the future, the technology in my business especially, now when a student is really trying to go abroad or something, they go to the university, they find out whether they are eligible for something like that. But now there are technologies like the apps which have been developed very recently. They give you an accurate score of how much percentage that you will be having a probability to get into such institutions.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also the parents are most confused, isn't it? They don't know whether these students can, the kids can really be adapted to those environment or something. So there again, the virtual reality, the virtual touring or something will happen where they can go experiment themselves to say, being in India itself, they'll be able to visit the US universities and say like, okay, these are the infrastructures available in the university, and probably take it up. So that those kind of enormous transformation with respect to artificial intelligence and virtual reality would happen. So that is what it is going through at the moment. And the smart classrooms, by the way, learning is a continuous activity, is it? So all the education sectors have been drastically adopting all these smart classrooms.
Absolutely. And yeah, interesting ideas. Yeah. Malay, what about you? How are you going to use future technologies? Or how is it going to impact your business?
So as far as digitization is concerned, I'll tell you, it has already impacted our business a lot in last couple of years. With a technology like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, today we are able to do meetings with different people in different states, which was earlier not possible to travel. The cost has reduced like anything. So overall, our operation cost has reduced. Now, when it comes to our future endeavors, we would be definitely banking on the cloud technology or SaaS, which is software as a service. Today, we are investing a lot of money onto hardwares, servers, where we do some analytical things and those kind of stuff. With SaaS and cloud platforms, it would be very easier for us even to work it remotely. Our customer base can be broadened across India, across world, anywhere. And also it will help us to hire talent across world anywhere. Wherever we would be able to find the talent, we would be able to hire it. It doesn't need to be a physical location or at our office or anything. Yeah.
Hey, wonderful, yeah. I hope all the members who are listening in have got some great insights into how technologies can be used, the future technologies that are coming up with this discussion. We have seen multiple industries applying it differently. So I think it's a fantastic input that can be used by others. Thank you very much, guys. And yeah, please join into the YouTube again. And we will continue with the next round, which is the succession planning in family business to build long-term wealth. And for this, I will invite Madhavan, who is the facilitator, and the rest of the members, panel members. So we have 6 members out here. Madhavan, are you in? Can you, it's all over to you.
Yes, sir.
Over to you then.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure having you all for this really interesting session on succession planning, which is so critical when it comes to business owners. So can we go ahead with the session and let us understand how all of you feel about and what is your feeling about succession planning is, right? So let me start with Mitesh.
Madhavan, you may just want to give a minute because I'm seeing that some of them are still joining, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Just check whether everybody is in.
Gaikwad is just coming in. Rahul is
I am
just
in.
Yeah, still waiting for Rahul and Gaikwad is in, okay? Only Rahul is there. I think we can get started then.
We'll start it, sir.
Yeah, Madhavan, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Mitesh. So,
Hi, Madhu.
So my first question I would like to put across to you is, so all of us are in different stages of our life cycle. Keeping this in mind, when do you feel is the right time to start thinking about succession planning?
I think it is very important that we all know that we have been, come somewhere and we are going to go out of somewhere when we have come. So it is very important that we start thinking about the succession planning on the day on which we start coming at a stage where we feel that the business will stop if I cease to exist, or if something goes wrong with me, everything will go haywire. That is the moment where we need to immediately start thinking that what is the plan, because the business is made for continuity, built to last, and the human is made to survive for the years he is destined to survive. So it is very critical that we start thinking on the day when we feel that the business is going to go haywire if I am not. That is my suggestion.
Thank you. Chitra, you are coming from a NGO background, had been over almost 26 years since you have been helping the society one project or other. You are also looking for something of this sort, and you are also part of a large business family. So you have both sides of it. As a, yeah.
Yeah, there is another session is going on. So
no.
So I am listening to different to this one.
I think you should switch off the YouTube.
Okay.
You're comfortable, sir?
Just a minute.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I think, Madhvan, you didn't finish your question.
Yeah. My thing is, you have exposure to both sides of the world, one from your family side, another from your professional side. So succession planning would look very different to you. So what do you feel? When should we start thinking about succession planning? That's the question.
Okay, I think succession plan ideally needs to be the day you've decided that you had to start a business. Simply because you don't know what life is in store for you. And most importantly, we could always say that, yes, the initial days, we are all struggling to, firefight, cash flow, get into the market, establish ourselves. It is that time when you will actually identify somebody in your team who is probably as capable as you in getting things sorted, or who's probably your shadow in seeing you go through these struggles. So your thought for succession, as far as I'm concerned, needs to start as early as you start your business. But if it's a well-established business where you are taking it over as a CEO or maybe a second generation entrepreneur, then what you do is start identifying a core team which you can then personally groom. Because I think what is very, very important in succession planning is probably have a 1/10 replica of the founder in the person who is ideally going to take over from you. So if it is a family run business, and as a person who is being involved in at least the conversations that happen, I think it's very, very important, if you're looking at your children to take over from you, it's very important to have business conversations and make it easy dining table conversations. That is when the children start understanding not just the fruit of your success, but also the pains that you go through.
Very good. So, Gaikwad, I would like to ask you something in terms of succession planning. It means different things for different people, right? So what does succession planning mean to you?
Really good question. Actually, it is related to businesses. When we are talking about businesses. So once we start business, initially, it is question of personal success. Okay. And personal success is happen when planning is good. But it is very difficult to hand over things what we make to in another hand. It is very difficult to any entrepreneur. So because this business is actually crafted around you, and so we are always thinking that it is very difficult to pass this somebody. For me, succession planning is the process which help to run the business without you. So how does it help? First criteria of this, according to me. So normally there is a saying, time is money, but I personally believe that time is money. It's for certain period this thinking is good, but after that we have to think about time is life. If I started thinking like this, time is life, then automatically this thinking will run behind the process which help us to build the leadership and pass on responsibility, accountability to others. So this is actually success in planning. And how it will help to create and that's actually this succession planning will help us to create you can say vision statement of business. And what vision statement will give us? It is definitely give us business purpose, culture building, what madam said. Okay, then it is employee development, management team effectiveness. So all these points, all these factors help you to build the short and long term goals. And ultimately, these long-term goals will going to succeed by people. Simple. It is not you only, because some certain time it is the business is running around you. But if you don't allow people to think about your match with your thought process, then it will never going to happen. So simple thing is, any means succession would be easily come when you allowing people to absorb how things are done. Not only teaching is enough here, but you have to allow them to match with your thought process. So succession planning is the build people. People capable, you understand the people capabilities, and it will give you the freedom from, means freedom for your life, how to enjoy your life. That will depend upon your succession planning. That's it.
Super. Viral, from your point of view, what do you feel?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, from my point of view, it's like, when you are building a company, it's like a baby, as very rightly pointed out by Bhagwan Bhai. Right, it's your baby, and it's very hard to get away things from you. Okay, but for me, on other aspect, there are 2-3 aspects. First aspect is your dream. Okay, when you are doing when you come into the business, then it's your dream. Okay, where you are crafting your dreams, the way you want to take, the way you want to contribute to the society, the way you want your growth, the way you want financial independence or support for your family, everything. So if you are not there also, and if you have done a proper succession planning, then definitely your dream and your business will be alive after your exit. The one. Second, as Mr. Rajesh Jain today told, if I do not have any certain capabilities or I have certain limitations, I have lots of idea, but I don't know how to execute it. So if I get a certain succession, then definitely it will be like a propelling the growth of the company. So there will not be any restriction or a limitation to the company's growth, because it's your dream, and when you decided, then the growth has to be there in the company. And third important thing, see, just I am working in my company. Okay, I have certain my thoughts, my ideas, and I'll be running my company as per my thoughts. And for any of the owner, it's very difficult to change their state of mind. And sometimes it's very difficult to accept the new technologies or new things or cope up with the new generation people. Okay, so by the time if you are having a succession planning, then definitely it's a new opportunity for company to think or redefine the pathway of the growth. So these are the few things from my end.
Okay. So Mr. Burgess, when it comes to business, obviously we are running this business to create wealth for our family, right? So what do you feel, how do you feel family managed business have to be run so that long-term wealth creation happens? So can I have your take on this? You're on mute.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you.
Sorry. Actually, when it comes to wealth, people have different ideas. Some people think wealth is like owning properties, or some people think it as a investment or how much cash in hand. But in a financial standpoint, I think wealth is the number of assets that you have minus the debt. And I know that the general saying is, 3 steps: make money, save money, and invest money. So those things are the things that can create wealth. So when you say make money, it's not, they say, you should have multiple streams of income, not one stream. And save money also, the trick is that you have to, even if it is small amount, you regularly save money and also see that it compounds also. And thirdly, invest every single day. that is also something that we rarely do, because we are in business and we are going after things day in and day out with some problems. And also multiple streams. You cannot work in a place where you have a capacity where only certain amount of money is going to come, and then how much more hard you will work, only that capacity of money will come. So multiple streams of money is definitely necessary. And one of the important idea that we should have about long-term wealth creation is safeguard your greatest asset, that is you. We have to safeguard ourselves, our health, so that we can generate wealth long-term, and also see that we have a financial safety always, and take care of those things. And I think when there is multiple streams of income, we will be able to generate wealth.
Very nice. So, Mitesh, you would like to share your views on this point?
Yeah, I think make money, save money, invest money is a good idea. I would add one more that, make money, save money, invest money not in only in, securities and assets, invest in relationships also. A lot of relationships pay back. One is always an Indian society where a lot of family values create huge multiples of returns. India has been a low insurance country, where we have always trusted on loved ones, family people, and family relationships, and always thought that we don't need insurance because we have Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C who will come and help us in the long run. So that is one thing that I would like to add in the process. And I would like to say that in the family-owned businesses, it is very important that the family members pay themselves well and pay themselves first. That is also another issue that I find in the family businesses. They don't pay themselves first. They don't respect themselves well. They always respect other employees, other team members, and other people, and they keep on damning themselves by saying that, okay, this time the business didn't perform well, so I will not pay myself. So that is something that we all need to change in the family-owned businesses. So one is relationship, another is pay yourselves first.
Super. So some of us might be in multi-owner business format, right? When it comes to succession planning, it can be very different when we are talking about succession planning in a multi-owner format. So let's ask Gaikwad what's his feeling about succession planning when it comes to multi-owner format.
It's very difficult actually, but multi-owners format, there are some advantages, disadvantages, but related to succession planning, actually, if you have one product, so it is very difficult to pass on the leadership in multi-owners businesses, because if one product is there, so multi-owner means owners are working on one product only. So if responsibilities are not divided properly, then it is really having a problem. Second thing, if you have 2 or more products, so you can divide those products or those verticals into business unit. Okay, so each business unit will become the profit center. So there will be good distribution between owners, and owners become own product, you can say profit center. And somehow in multi-owners businesses, the owners are not thinking about next generation when they are in peak. Okay, so they are thinking that this business will going with us, means after 60, 70. So this is one of the policy where we are thinking that missing. We are not thinking from beginning what will be after 10 years, 20 years, and that is missing. If exit plan will be there, then definitely it will manage properly. So that's from my side.
Yeah, very good. So, Viral, obviously you will have your views when it comes to succession planning in a multi-owner format. Can you please share that with us?
For any of the company, what I understand, let it be a multi-owner or a single owner, right? But any company has their own purpose, and the purpose always drives the company. Okay, and the second common thing is the company's value system, and that is non-compromisable for each and every owner. And third one is a company culture, right? As Bhagwan Bhai said, okay, so there are, so if company is having only one product or company is having a multiple product, but as Rajesh Jain sir said, there in the company there will always be a one dictator, okay, only one leader. There cannot be multiple leader in the company if you focus on the company's growth. And when we are thinking in this context, then definitely there has to be certain common the purpose, company culture, and company's non-compromisable value system. So any of the successor who is aligned or who is aligned to this or which you are planning, then definitely you should one should train the successor with this purpose, culture, or the company's vision.
Actually, we also run a multi-owner firm. So I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but
yeah, please share.
We are like 5 partners and we work together in a consulting organization, and it has been an amazing journey wherein we went through, step by step increasing the number of team members, are merging multiple firms together from 2003 onwards to 2016. We merged 3 firms and we are now 5 partners. We work together. It's completely owner-driven environment. So one of the things that I would like to add in the owner-driven environment, the succession planning is each individual's choice, each individual owner's choice. One would like to retire at 45 and another would like to retire at 70. But I think the organization's purpose and goal should choose the ultimate exit plan for each one of them instead of the owner himself. So it is becoming very significantly important that an owner starts underperforming after 50-55 and loses energy at a particular juncture. So he should cease to then participate in decision making or reduce his participation over a period of time and allow others to increase their participation and share by that means. But that generally doesn't happen, and that is the biggest catch. And there needs to be a lot of deliberation and discussion between the multiple owners all the time on this subject, and wherein we should ask this question that you want to continue up to 70, but whether your vigor is allowing you to continue up to 70 or not. And if not, why are you continuing to say that I want to continue? Please continue in a corner room, but don't be trying to drive the purpose of the organization. Otherwise, it will become a killer.
Very good. So I know I've kept Rahul silent for quite some time, and hopefully he's not annoyed with me. But I would like to ask him the right question. That's why I had waited for some time. Rahul, from your point of view, you're in the point where your next generation might be coming into or might not be coming into your business. So when it comes to bringing in next generation, there's always variety of challenges that we have, particularly because of the preferences that the next generation has. So Rahul, can you talk about it and give your views on this?
Yeah, thank you, Madhavan, and good evening to everybody. Probably you wanted to give me the last word, so you reserved me for the last.
Rahul, in a relay race, who's kept in the end?
Yeah, the fastest runner.
Yeah, that's why I kept you.
Yeah, but I'm the oldest. So Mitesh just said that the oldest is not the fastest. So I wanted to tell him that that's not necessarily true. So anyway, coming to
I said the vigor should continue. My point is the vigor should continue.
Right. Okay. So sorry for countering you. Now the thing is on succession challenges. Yes, like Chitra started off succession. When you talk of in business, normally what comes to your mind is the next generation taking over the ownership, right? But when I saw the post from Tab, which also said grooming leaders within, that is another aspect of succession. So I'll try to talk about the challenges of both quickly, share my thoughts rather. The first one is probably something which is easier. Talk about grooming leaders within your organization. The challenges I would see is, within the organization, you may have, yes, definitely, you will find people who are willing to step up, right? And with the years, you'll see that they are able to take on additional responsibility, right? I have stories within my organization of people who have been here starting from 3 years to probably 15, 20 years and taking up, multiple roles and almost freeing me from operations. And their responsibility is growing so that you can delegate and get out of those areas. So it's easier grooming people within the organization, provided there is no competence deficit, right? The person is not exposed, which will happen over time. So if you have experienced people who are exposed to different facets of your business, you can always hand over, if provided the person is willing. So that's about grooming leaders within the business. Getting leaders from outside the business, I have found it much more difficult, because if you try to get somebody from a bigger company, right, first of all, you'll get people who may not be competent, right? And those are the only people who are available, because people who are competent, their companies won't let them go. The only ones who are available are not, who are not competent. And if you do happen to get a competent guy from a bigger company, he'll come and do half the work for double the pay that you're used to paying for that job. Okay. So that's about grooming others, employees, people whom you've employed for leadership roles within your organization. Coming to the issue which I face, like you rightly said, being a senior citizen now, I have to think about handing over ownership of my business. And obviously, the first choice would be somebody from your family. I do have a son, and I'll share the challenges. So I think it's, first of all, the first challenge is within your mind itself. You see, both are your children, your business as well as your child, right? So first of all, whether him or her coming into your business is the best thing for your child. You can't say that for my business and its, what should I say, longevity, or it's surviving after me, I kind of make him the bakra to carry on the bucket, right? He needs to be both interested as well as, yes, he needs to be interested, and it should be the best thing for him. Unless you feel that he has a future in it, you shouldn't trust it upon him or her. That is one thing. And of course, the person should also be qualified to take over the business. And secondly, as I said, both. He should be the best thing for the business also. It should be both ways, right? The business should be the best thing for him to do in his life, because you would want your child to be happy. And at the same time, he should be the best thing for the business for you to hand over custody of your business, because you wouldn't like it to suffer if he is not up to the mark, which happens in many cases. The second thing, which is also a bigger challenge, is enrolling. If in case you get through that hurdle, the second thing is enrolling the person, your child, into accepting that that is the best thing. Today children have their own mind, right? They know best what is, for them to do. I think it probably happened with our generation, right? My parents didn't really tell me what to do. And I think my children won't even listen if I tell him what is best for him. Right from the time he selected to do his engineering, the branch he took, and thereafterwards, they decide what they want to do, what they want to study, whom they want to marry. And even if you have wealth, they don't care for it. They say, I'd rather make my own wealth than take over your wealth. I don't feel, what shall I say, fulfilled taking over your wealth. So I'd like to, prove myself. So that's the second challenge over there. This is what I'd like to say. I mean, that's it. So enrolling is also a bigger challenge. I tried. I worked. My son was struggling for a job. He went back to the US for a second MS just to see that he got a job there, and had a long struggle under Trump to get a job, long time. At that time, I tried to enroll him. It just became a one-way conversation where I tried to sell a lot of things to him, at the end of which he said, let me do what I want to do. And so that's the second challenge, right? Enrolling them. And maybe I think making your business attractive, worthy enough for them to feel, aspire to take it over. Probably that would happen with time, right? You may, and they think differently, you think differently. I think that's a challenge. So that's what I'd like to say about the challenges of, succession in your business.
Thanks, Rahul. So, Mr. Thomas Verghese, you will obviously be having your views on this. So can you please share this?
Yeah, I have a view because I had a son who finished his engineering last year and he joined here as soon as he finished his studies, and he's working with us for a year now. And today morning I said, this is the topic that I'm going to speak, and what is your thought? And he was saying that if there is closeness in the family, then I think they will be willing to come and join and work together. That is one point that he was sharing with me. But I think generally joining family business is a plan B or plan C for everyone. It is not a plan A. So the one thing is they would like to go and work somewhere else than come to your place, which means something else is attracting them. If that same environment is there in your factory, I think they will, or in your company, they will be willing to come and join. So that may be one thing. But I have one more son who will be finishing, who is in college. I have a brother with whom I run this company, so we are a family-owned business, and he has 2 sons. And but generally the talk is they all want to come and join here. And one reason is because I have nephews who studied degrees and were struggling very hard to get job, and a lot of struggles what they had, they used to share with them. So they all want to come and join here. So that may be because plan is A is not working for them, maybe plan B and C is they are ready to come and join. So I think creating a better work culture in your place makes a big difference. And we know that they are all tech savvy, they are so prematurely mature, they are pampered, they are empowered, they are not very, they may not be very willing to take risk, they are protected. All these things are there, but still I think if they can, if it is a large and professionally managed business, I think they will be willing to come in. And if there is emotional closeness in the family, and if there is frequent communication in the family, I think it will be a very good thing where they can come in and join. That I think those things can overcome the challenges. So the challenges are the other things.
Very well said, sir. So Chitra, I'm going to ask you the next question. Obviously, you will say I'm an NGO. So where do I talk about valuation and all? So the target is not your profession alone. You're part of a very large industrial family. So we would like to listen from you. You'll be obviously part of so many discussions in your family. So why don't you talk about specific valuation when it comes to your company, or when it comes to your NGO, what do you think about valuation? Or in terms of exit strategy, what do you feel is relevant to you as a head of an NGO and as a part of a large industrial family?
So maybe I'll first talk as an NGO. My exit strategy would probably be like what I think Mr. Jain said in his talk. Move from something that is managed by that is run by a family where I don't get involved into day-to-day operations, and get on to an advisory board where I just sit there and maybe direct, but have no control over what is happening day to day. I think when I got this question, I had a conversation with my husband, and when we were talking about valuation and even an exit strategy, I think the one case that comes to our mind is what happened with ICICI when Mr. Kamath had to move out, and he just apparently just left, was inaccessible to anybody in the organization, and they had to fight it out and find solutions and accept the person who's coming in. I think your exit strategy, if at all you think you didn't find anybody, or like
you're in mute.
Yeah, if the younger generation is not willing to come in, then the best thing to do is, when you are at the peak of the business, look at selling it for a kill. And if it is not, then you look at getting on to an advisory board where you just sit there and direct and take what comes. Either way, it works, it doesn't work. That's a risk that you do if you don't plan your succession well. So an exit strategy is hopefully not something that everybody should be doing struggling about it, and it has to be. So I think succession plan has to not be an event in your organization. It has to be part of your DNA. And if that happens, then I think you'll have a great, probably great retirement day where you sit down and be satisfied about handing it over on a platter to maybe your own family or to a professionally identified CEO. And this is purely my personal view.
Yeah.
On a platter,
elsewhere.
On a platter or on a frying pan, whichever way. To handle the platter or a frying pan.
So Rahul, again, I would like to put the same thing across to you. So when it comes to valuing your business, devising an exit strategy, so what are your thoughts on this?
So I think you have to exit your business. You can't keep running it perpetually. So, of course, I could articulate my thoughts on this thanks to Tab's intervention and coaching on this. And I've already begun the process. I think the first thing is, there are two things to it. One is get yourself into the role of an investor in your business, right? Which means gradually get out of managing day-to-day functions, day-to-day running, delegate, and have a CEO, right? Like Mr. Jain said, if you can have a CEO, then you only need to run the dreams about your business. Of course, I'm talking about dreams which are grounded in reality, and share them, share the vision, handle that portion of your business. And like I said, become an investor. So then once you're an investor in the business, then the business, the prospective buyer or whoever takes over is confident that, yes, the business is running by itself. It's over for me to change hands from the current owner to myself. That is one. The second thing I'd like to do in my business is planning for succession or an exit strategy is keep the business contemporary all the time in terms of technology, in terms of services. As is a service industry, so in the terms of services provide, keep it contemporary. Don't let it go. Nobody would like to buy a business which is in the past. We are a 47-year-old company, but touch wood, we are pretty contemporary. I wouldn't say we still have a way to go. I wouldn't say we are the best, but we have USPs. People need to come to us exclusively, right? We are exclusive in a number of things which we do. So in that manner, keep your business relevant and contemporary, right? Don't become run of the mill. That will become very difficult for you to, first of all, make profits, and secondly, make it attractive to a buyer. So two things, basically keep it contemporary, become an investor. Once these two things are done, then of course, the ways and means to exit when it comes to that, I mean, you can always keep yourself on the lookout for somebody who's eyeing your business, somebody who wants to come and invest partially, fully, whatever. And you also have now exchanges for SMEs where you can go and list your company. SMEs can also be listed. There are government of India, I think, sites and methodologies where even SMEs can go and list and be owned by the public. So number of avenues. You look at the avenues once you're ready to offer yourself, right? All the due diligence, etc., which is to be done. It has to be a kind of a corporate entity. It has to be a company, etc., etc., and those kind of things. Qualify, get your company to qualify for all those criteria and make it worthy for somebody to take over. That is how I think exit should be planned.
Thank you so much, Rahul. It was worth the wait. We waited for your talk for quite some time, so I think he has finished it quite well. So panelists and obviously TAB members, we as a part of our support to our members, we do talk about succession planning. In case you need any support, you can always reach out to your facilitator. We'll be glad to support you. It is a pleasure having you all in this session and had a wonderful time. So again, like last time I said, whenever you happen to come to Pondicherry, we'll be happy to host you here. If you want to have an experience of it, you can talk to Rahul. So thank you all. So let's have the pleasure of leaving the stage to Mr. Ravi. So the next event comes forward. Thank you all.
Everyone, thank you so much. I think it was a very interesting discussion, Madhavan. Thank you very much, everybody. And Yeah, so you can now go back to the YouTube for continuing your viewing the rest of the event. And I'm going to invite Ramas to come in and start the next proceedings, which is going to be the talk by our TAB CEO, Mr. Jason. Ramas?
Hey, Jason. Hi, good to see you. Very warm welcome to you. And, it's indeed a pleasure to have you on as always, right? And all the more so because you're waking up at an unearthly time. Sometimes I believe this once a year is probably the equivalent of the number of times we all get together in the evening, right? So I do understand and I feel for it, right? And I do genuinely appreciate it. Just so you know, Jason, finished up. Yeah. Jason, you're on. I'm unable to. You're on mute, or
no, he's okay. He's okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to set the context before I leave the stage to you, is we just had one session basically on how to grow a successful professional organization. We have a person who's preparing for their IPO. And then we had a tech session. We had two very interesting panel discussions, one on technology adoption, obviously given the pandemic, and the second just finished was on succession planning, right? On how do you groom yourself, whether you're partners, business planners, and all our members were able to get together and sort of share their ideas and thoughts. So it in a way sets the context, for the second session keynote, as we say, get started, right? So I think it's my honor and my pleasure to first introduce you, right? So, in a way, this organization is yours. Everybody knows you. You see the process. You're part of this team in India. But still, I think it's my duty as the host for the evening, right? So, everyone on the team, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome and introduce Mr. Jason Zickerman. He is the president and CEO of TAB International. Right? He has helped TAB over the last many years that been there to really grow it and clip, I would say, at a pace at such an extent that today we are proudly claiming that we are indeed the world's largest for-profit peer-to-peer coaching engagement organization. The mix of things that we do, which is the peer-to-peer boards, it is the private coaching, it is the next level team engagement, the strategic tools. I think that combination is very, very unique. And we are definitely the world's biggest in that space for SMEs. And that shows because Jason has really grown the organization at an international plane significantly in the last many years. Today we are in more than 23 countries. Jason can update. We had 3 sort of add-on in the pandemic, right? And personally, before he will talk a lot more about TAB, but individually, he has a lot of opinions and views just by virtue of interacting with business owners around the world. So he gets constantly called on for not only keynote sessions, for interviews, and he's one of the most influential minds available when it comes to commenting on, analyzing, and sharing expressions when it comes to owner-managed business and what it takes to grow an organization, right? The list of people who consult him is pretty long. And he not only has leadership experience, he comes from a very strong operational background, right? And TAB is a family-managed business. That's the interesting part. Just the story. When we were looking to get into a coaching franchise, one of the things that really caught our attention is that here is a very successful global organization that is yet family managed. So being professional and family managed, hey, that can coexist. And we saw that in every step of the way. Jason over the years has become a friend as well. He was patient in the 2 years we took to make up our mind. And he also understands the challenges we face in India, right? And he loves to be in India. We've been planning it for a while. We are expecting the next conference. Hopefully, fingers crossed, as things open up, he should be here. In these tough times, he's really played on the front foot. Jason, that's a cricketing term, right? Playing on the front foot, right? It's basically you go aggressive. And I remember you saying that when COVID struck, right? We got to play aggressive. And pretty much TAB has done that. We've got amazing results from our members. Our global community has come together. We've engaged like never before. And it's a great opportunity to hear you, Jason. So I'm going to, with that introduction, I'm going to sort of pass over the stage to you. Once again, thank you for being so early and all yours.
And good to see you, Jason.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Ramis. And I really genuinely appreciate that kindness that you just extended me. Sometimes I really do not feel I even deserve that, but thank you. I am so excited to be with all of you this evening. And I know that you've had some great content today. Ramas and Ravi do a fantastic job putting together these events and making sure that they are full of value. And as a matter of fact, actually, if you really think about it, the very first virtual member conference in the history of TAB was held in India. And it was their leadership and things like this. There's so many reasons why India is becoming a more significant part of the TAB global community. So this is such an honor for me. You know, when Ramas asked me to speak, I was like, of course I'd speak. What a great honor. And he thought I wasn't serious, but it is truly an honor to be with all of you. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to chatting a little bit with you. We're very excited by this. You know, as everyone knows, India is a diverse and a very large country, which has one of the fastest growing economies. And in spite of its challenges, India has faced up to the COVID in an impressive manner with no significant social political disruptions. And I know that there's some, don't get me wrong, we all have our crap that we deal with, but not like we're doing here in the States, for example. And in fact, I understand India's vaccination rate now is over 70%. It's very impressive. So we can now look forward to recovering some of the lost ground that we've all taken economically. And that's what makes this a perfect time for each and every one of us to be a TAB member, as I believe there is so much opportunity on the horizon. And TAB India is also growing, which is fantastic. Even during the challenging time, TAB India has grown. We've grown from like 40 some odd members to over 60 members with 15 different industries or more. Pondicherry, I hope I pronounce these areas right. Pondicherry has grown. And now we're expanding into Chennai. Rajkot was launched and already has its first board operational. That's fantastic. And we also know that our TAB members are receiving the great value and are enjoying and appreciating the membership. So how do I know this? Because you have an amazing retention of over 90%. That speaks volumes when it talks to the volume that each and every one of us are having and giving to each other. Now, as everyone knows, this pandemic has presented us a lot of obstacles. We know that. And we have to overcome them. We're still overcoming some of them. But at the same time, it really has presented positive areas. I know that many of our businesses are doing some of the best they've ever done. And others have learned to really navigate this very challenging water and have become a healthier company in spite of it. We know also that there's challenges, like I said. But one of the real positives is that it has allowed us as a community to become more connected globally. You know, the old-fashioned in-person conferences, we call them old-fashioned, but you know what I mean, right? And not just TAB Conference, but any professional development, we're face-to-face. That's the way we only knew how to do it. But now, with virtual conferences, participation has truly increased, which means more best practices can be shared, and we can expand our network in ways that we may not have thought possible. And that really has been a wonderful silver lining for these crazy days. And I hope everyone here at the conference is taking advantage of this and will use this opportunity to connect with business owners outside of their TAB board, outside of their region. And if you haven't done yet, I encourage you to please, before this conference ends, connect with someone, start building a relationship, start making this community even closer and closer. And I hope that many of you are also reaching outside of the country. Because one of the things that we saw when this pandemic started is that business owners genuinely wanted to support other business owners. And not just with business matters either. See, the spirit that we all have is that we are in this together and we're going to help each other get beyond this together. Now, we like to think of this as helping ourselves get out of the quicksand. But the important thing is that we were providing support to people, to each other, who are traveling along the same journey, facing the same uncertain future. And I have been genuinely touched by the countless stories that members of helping each other during these days through this pandemic. So I just want to say thank you. I want to stop and really take a heartfelt thank you and say thank you for being there for each other. And thanks for being part of this community of forward-thinking business owners. So I thought maybe I'd share a little bit about some of the offerings as well. You know, one of the reasons why everyone needs a coach is that we get too close to things, don't we? And when we get too close to things, what happens is we lose perspective. And having a coach come in each month who is sufficiently close, but not wrapped around the details, not wrapped around the axle, well, that provides a really great perspective for us. That's why we do this. And sometimes we need help when we're too close to see. So an outside perspective, it's gold. And that's what recently happened to me. I was in a meeting with a very, very serious player in this business advisory industry. And he knows our industry extraordinarily well and has an impressive handle on all the comparative offerings within the industry. And he said to me, he said, Jason, I don't think you appreciate what you really have. You have the trifecta, he said. You are the only company in this space that provides peer advisory boards, private coaching, and growth workshops. And he refers to the workshops of our program as Strap Pro. Strap Pro are our growth workshops. And not only, I thought to myself, do we have the trifecta, but actually we have the Business Builders Blueprint. We have Tab Connect as an additional part of our offering. Now, I'm not a gambler, but if you were doing some horse racing, I think that's what we call now the quadfecta. And this is another area where India is leading in our organization. India has the highest ratio of Strap Pro engagements to members. That's brilliant. In fact, there are 3 members now who are moving into their 3rd year with Strap Pro, another first for our organization. India is so very well represented as well in our Tab Connect. And I think practically every single one of you has a profile. So I just, once again, need to show appreciation for all of you engaging with the full offering and the understanding that the Tab opportunity has to offer. And as we look to future offerings, I have great confidence that the members of India will continue to lead the adoption of our programs. In the real near future, we hope to provide the opportunity to work with other Tab members in the same industry, but not in the same geographic areas. This will allow for collaboration without competition, using our collective industry knowledge to help improve members' businesses. Now, going into last year, I think that most of us felt at least some cautious optimism, didn't we? The vaccines were rolling out and really working. Cases of COVID in most locations were declining. Lockdowns were lifting. And things were getting back to normal. Or we started to feel that there was normal days right over the horizon. But just as our optimism began to peak, new obstacles started to present themselves, like Omicron. And if you really think about it, prior to COVID, business owners, well, we felt in control. Well, as much as we ever feel in control. Now we have uncertainty. Before, owners of leaders of businesses, the owners were leaders of their businesses. And now many of us feel that we're just another employee. Unfortunately, we're not sure when this uncertainty is going to end. And that thought for many of us could be a little exhausting. So what I'm sharing with folks and what I really think is important is that we have to take care of ourselves as well. And as business owners, we're used to taking care of others. We have to, that comes with the territory. As business owners, we do that. And I share this African parable. You might have heard me speak about it at one point or another, but it's relevant every time I say it. It's every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up and it knows it must run faster than the fastest lion or it's going to be killed. Every morning, a gazelle wakes up, a lion wakes up, and it knows it must outrun the fastest gazelle or it's going to starve to death. You see, it doesn't matter whether you're a lion or whether you're a gazelle. When that sun comes up, you better damn well be running. Now, whether we see ourselves as that gazelle or lion, we have to really think about it. Because during these daunting challenges, we say to ourselves, well, that's the way I've always been. And when I'm up against this challenge, I guess I'll just keep running because that's all I ever know. Well, my experience is that works up until the point that it doesn't. You see, without you all being your best self, things can and often will fall apart. Now, as you all know, I represent a group of hundreds of business owners and coaches and facilitators from around the world. And their collective advice to all of us is that we must focus on ourselves first. That is, we want you to put your oxygen mask on before you help others. So what does that mean? Well, it can mean different things for different people, but I can share just a few recommendations that I think are absolutely universal. First, we all must be sure to create enough time, enough emotional availability for the most important people in our life. And that's our family and our friends. And not only will they be in a better place as a result of our support, but my experiences, this is the time, this is the connection that we all need in order for us to fill our physical and emotional tanks. Secondly, be part of a supportive community of other business owners and leaders who genuinely care about you and are also traveling along the same heroic journey. Now, everyone here, or most of you here, are TAB members. So you have this community. So cherish it, take care of it. So what I would like each and every one of you to do is I encourage you to own your board. Don't just show up, engage fully with your board. Listen attentively with head and heart. Be vulnerable, be compassionate, and make a commitment to your board each month. Each month, be prepared to make that commitment for yourself, for your sake, for your personal vision, your business vision, and hold yourself accountable. Hold your fellow board members accountable and allow them to hold you accountable. That's the way this works. And that's why this is now working in 24 countries around the world. And the last final thing I'd like to say is I want you to focus on things in the work that gives you the most meaning. And you might be saying, well, that sounds awesome, Jason, but right now I'm the chief cook, I'm the bottle washer, I'm short-staffed or this, that, and I get that, I really do. And so maybe right now you cannot do the things that you love doing, but you need to keep your eye on the prize. And when you do have some space, find these things. Now, taking care of yourself is important, obviously, and it will give you the energy that you need to keep moving forward. But I know some of us, including myself, in these challenging days, we're not sure exactly how to move forward. And when you hear things are uncertain, many times you'll hear people say, well, get back to the basics, go back to the fundamentals. And I think that is wise advice. And what I've learned over the years in charting one's success, whether it be in business or in life, it really comes down to 3 areas. And that's one's mindset, our skill set, and our activity. Think about that. What else really matters when you're charting one's success? Our mindset, which is key, our skill set, and our activity. Now, mindset is our outlook. It's a positive mindset that embodies belief, optimism, and enthusiasm. And we love being around those folks, right? We love folks who exude positivity, don't we? Look at this conference. Excuse me. The energy that's being shared, the enthusiasm, right? That's exciting. It's contagious. We love it. Skill set is about both hard skills and soft skills. And we could always choose to improve our current skill set or possibly even gain a skill set that we did not need previously. And of course, there's activity, which is a bias towards action. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, it's the action, not the fruit of the action, that's important. You have to do the right thing. It may not be in your power, it may not be in your time that there'll be any fruit, but that doesn't mean you stop doing the right thing. And you may never know the results that come from your actions, but if you do nothing, there'll be no result. That resonates with me, and I hope it resonates with you. In order to improve our situation, it genuinely comes down to these three areas, and every single one of us could probably do better in each of them. Now, when one of our fellow members struggles with a challenge of any sort, and you're in your board meetings or you're having a conversation with them, start examining mindset, skill set, activity. Because looking at our challenges this way will likely reveal a path forward. And this brings me full circle. It brings me back to the support that our TAB members give each other. For those of you who have been in TAB India since before the pandemic, I bet you can't even imagine going through these days alone. Why would you? It's so unnecessary. It is so much more enthusiasm and confidence building and it's helpful as we do this together. And for those of you who might have joined recently, well, I'm sure that you're going to look back at these days and realize you captured great opportunities that you may not have, and that your stress level and your enjoyment navigating through these challenging days have been so much more fruitful. So please keep supporting each other. And I know that we're going to be so much better for this experience. So if I had to really wrap this whole thing up and then open myself up to any questions for you, I just want you to know that I'm really looking forward to a time in the not too distant future when I'll have the opportunity to travel over to India and hear your voices, hear your stories firsthand. It's one of the greatest parts of being the CEO of this wonderful organization. And even though I'm aware of the power, the TAB opportunity, it is always so much more impactful when I get to be with you in person and hear what's going on. So I hope I'll have the pleasure of one of these days presenting the awards in person at a future conference. So for now, I just want to say thank you. I want to congratulate all the winners and the nominees of the awards. You should be so incredibly proud of what you've accomplished. My very, very best to each and every one of you. And I'm happy to take any questions and talk about it with anything that's on your mind. So thank you. Ravi, thank you for having me and give me the opportunity to just say hello and be part of your conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, I do have a few questions that's popped in on the chat box and the WhatsApp. So I'm going to just ask them, as they sort of came up to our mind. The first thing, I think, given the pandemic and the time when you meet with business owners across so many people, and including our masters, what are the biggest common issues and risks do you hear for SME business owners?
What are the biggest challenges today, right now?
What are the biggest challenges and issues that you come across when you're interacting with so many business owners from across the country, so many countries?
Yeah, I mean, right now, the big thing here, as I'm sure you're all aware, is supply chain, HR issues, people, talent, and really retention of membership of their employees. Everyone's, I'm sure, very, very well aware of the Great Resignation. And also in these times, how do you make this new culture that's virtual and people working and not being face-to-face with people as often sticky and meaningful? And how do you keep that human connection to people? And I think that that's really been an issue. The fact that people can't travel the way they once did. How do you build those relationships? So I think that's what we're all up against. And that's why I also think that when I tell people, because at the end of the day, all business ultimately comes down to interactions with people at one way or another. And one of the best pieces of advice that a friend of mine gave me a long time ago, he says, when it comes to relationships, do not try to be efficient. And right now, we're all really efficient, which is great in some ways, but you can't forget that you're dealing with people. So don't let that efficiency get away from you, to overwhelm your life, because when you're talking to people, you need to make sure you're extending that. So I think that connection and building relationships and getting people to communicate during a virtual world where people feel it's not as important to be present, I think those are some of the biggest issues that I'm seeing.
Okay, thanks. A very logical sequel, I guess, right, is that given the pandemic, I mean, has it changed TAB's worldview of how we can connect to international members, what opportunity does create for us to sort of see out of India and to the larger ecosystem? Are there any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the, what I find is one of the best things. I mean, our world has shrunk due to the virtuality. Prior to this pandemic, you know, I was on a plane constantly, right? And I was speaking to folks, you know, and a handful, I could only get to so many countries in a given year on a plane, right? But now I'm meeting with folks on a regular basis in every country that we're in. The community is getting together. Our member conference came together with hundreds of people. So I do believe that there's a silver lining to all of this, and our ability to engage with each other and work with each other and collaborate with each other is at an all-time high. And if you could take the technology and you turn it into something positive, I think it's been working. So our collaboration has been better. Our ability to interact with different initiatives and bring things to different shores of countries has been powerful. So I think that there's been a lot of benefit by what's been going on, and yeah, we're excited for it, and I think we benefit from it. I know that in our organization, Ramesh, I think you would agree that we're talking more than we ever have.
Oh yeah,
and I think right. So I think that there's a huge benefit to what has been going on in the pandemic.
Yeah, well, I have just about, I can't resist one question. I'm going to have time for one more question.
Please.
So, but I just want to sort of add on to what you said, Jason, because I genuinely believe that, you know, the first year and a half of TAB and the last year and a half of TAB, I have personally seen the connect, right? I mean, we used to wait for the annual conference, and all of a sudden, you know, like you said in the conference keynote, that we are meeting twice a month, and things are getting, you know, much quicker, and, you know, things are just going at a much faster pace. And that sort of has helped quite a lot, because firstly, of course, it is a TAB principle, right? That you're not feeling alone. Hey, I also want to say one thing, one interesting thing for us, which has worked very well, just so that all our members know, we are part of peer boards ourselves. So we sort of practice what we preach. So essentially today, I am part of a peer board with my masters in 5-6 other countries, and every month we meet, and I just amazing. So I guess there are opportunities, and for those members interested, we are thinking of affinity boards. It's a term that in TAB we've coined, boards where our Indian members can be part of a global board, where we will have an international facilitator of choice who will be taking care. And so there are definite plans. So any one of the members who is interested, get in touch with your facilitator. We will find a way as and when TAB is ready to launch it, I'm sure, right? So it's interesting. Yeah, so one final question for you, Jason.
Please.
What personally motivates you to be the head of TAB?
You know, I'm a high social, so I'm, which means that I like to make the world a little bit better than it was the day before, right? And I'm one of those individuals who get more joy out of giving than getting, and which is actually a bunch of BS when you really think about it, because the fact is, when you give, no one gives purely altruistically, right? You give it because it gives you a feeling of sense and joy and all that. And I believe givers gain, you know, and so for me, our ability to build this community, for me to be able to sit here in Boulder, Colorado at this early hour and be able to talk to all of you, knowing what's going on there, is such a charge. It's such a charge to understand that we're impacting so many lives, all of you, your families, your communities, your employees, and we're doing this around the world. I know that if any of you were to call me and I don't even know your name yet, and you say, Jason, I'm a TAB member, I'm all about it. I want to hear about you. I want to talk to you. And I think that's happening 24 countries now. Each of you could reach out to someone across the country and let them know that you're a TAB member and get a warm welcome. So what gives me the joy is that I had a little piece of helping build a community, a global community, that even though we may not have met, we're together. And that's kind of cool. And plus I get to travel. I used to get to travel around the world and be able to be in all the different cultures. And I love it. I just love it, you know, and I love celebrating how different we operate, but yet how human we all are. So for me, that's my joy. And this is why I love doing what I do.
Hey, great. Well, Jason, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I think I've said it before that we actually are looking forward to, you know, literally shaking hands with you and giving each other a warm hug when we meet in India very soon, right? So hopefully, fingers crossed, look forward to seeing you here.
Yeah, well, let's plan on next week. Everybody, thank you so much. Stay well. If you have any questions for me, you just want to talk, you have anything to bounce up, Promise knows how to reach out to me. It would be an honor. So thank you very much. You have a wonderful rest of the conference. Congratulations to all you winners. And of those awards, you should be very, very proud. And we'll speak to you soon. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jason.
Good night. Yeah. Bye-bye, Ravi.
Bye-bye.
Right. So that was good. I think we sort of finished a keynote, and before we go on to the next session, and very soon we are now into the awards. So that's the next interesting bit of it, and that's where we're jumping into. But it's a good time to sort of once again acknowledge the help and support we've gotten from all our TBOs partners. TBOs are TAB business owners. They are individuals who are our partners in the respective regions, Madhavan and Ramesh in Pondicherry and Chennai, and Bhavesh, Dhaval, Shail, Dipesh, and Virat in Rajkot. So we are a growing community, very happy to work with them. This conference has been put together by all of us. In fact, this conference was planned to be a hybrid one, where we were going to have 3 centers where people are going to be sitting together and watching in a networking session later. And it happens to be in Pondicherry. So there's a bunch of people in Pondicherry who are sitting there, and Madhavan has been enticing us and sort of creating a jealousy pang for us by sharing pictures of all of you guys staying there together with the awards and the member corner. And here we are sitting wherever we are. So it's sort of creating an interest for us to meet very soon. But that's the way we will go. So we will get back to our meeting together and having fun. So hey, you blokes have a lot of fun there, and so it's great fun to be able to meet and do it together. I have Ullas with me, but I'm going to steal 5 minutes of his time before I sort of pass over to Ullas and introduce him. I just wanted to take a minute, rather 2 or 3 minutes, let me say, to sort of give an opening to the people who are in TAB, who are in the conference, who are the guests, who are the invitees, who may or may not know what TAB is all about. We've been speaking TAB for the last few hours. So a quick 5-minute sneak preview of who we are. First of all, statistics. We all like numbers, right? So essentially, TAB today is indeed the world's largest SME business coaching organization, which combines coaching and peer boards. There has been over 500 boards globally. The interesting statistics is a consistent 9+ rating where members stay, and we have over 85% retention, which means the members who stay on with us for over 7-8 years, I'm talking about 8-9 years where the boards work together, is over 85%. In fact, I've met people in US where the boards are the 24th or the 25th year in running. And some of these organizations have really transformed. And the number of businesses which have exited because they sold their business, we spoke about succession planning, right? That's a significant number. So one of the key benefits of TAB is the way it allows you to grow your business in a structured manner and create value. Yes, it is about improving sales. It is about improving bottom line. Yes, but it is all the more about improving organizational challenges. Now we address it, and that's the key part, right? It's not just about business numbers. So that's what we do. So hearing, some of the people speak, what has been motivating, and we're going to hear some of these in the TAB Achievement Awards as we go along. But we just chose some of those, right? So it's very interesting, right? On one hand, we have individuals who are talking about how TAB has helped their business, right? The key thing to be thinking like an investor. Or the exercise, many of us have done the strategic planning for the first time with their key team members. We've heard a lot of these things. And we think a lot of this is corporate BS, as Jay said, it's not meant for me. But even in a small organization with 3 people, can I still use strategic tools to do whatever I need to do? That's what we are all about, right? And then we have understood the difference between a professional as well as an entrepreneur. See, that's a very insightful thought. Because we just spoke about succession planning. I can be a self-employed professional where the business will stop the day I stop. But if I want the business to continue, I need to do some things differently, right? And a sounding board gives you an ability of being secure. And that secure word is key, because we're talking about owners who understand each other and give a secure environment. Because even warriors, if you see our own tradition, Greek mythology, Mahabharata, there's a time with which the warriors come home, and at that time in the night you're not allowed to attack, right? And that dharma of war is very important, because we need to replenish ourselves. We are fighting a battle, but one-to-one we are not enemies. I think that is extremely important, and that mutual respect is critical. And therefore for us, though, some of the more personal takeaways are what really excite us, right? Because for example, you're saying that the splitting of responsibilities in family members is probably the most important takeaway. There are members who constantly tell us that it's a very difficult challenge, tricky challenge. And somebody talks about bloodshed, right? Yes, but it's not real bloodshed, because I'm actually investing in doing something which I need for later. There's something I always say, that good things are simple interest, bad things is compounded interest. So you postpone it, right? TAB allows you to deal with those challenges upfront. And very often just knowing that there are others there who are there with me, similar challenges helps. And we picked one up because we know a member has literally gone through a very tough challenge. And this was a big takeaway for us, right? Where a person went through a personal challenge, and we knew this person was giving in almost 4 to 5 days a week in his office. And today the factory runs or office runs with just 4 hours a week. And when there's a personal challenge for months together, if the business owner was not able to go to a factory, and we're talking about 100+ crore business, and yet the business runs, I think some magic happens. And that is what I believe eventually we all need. So TAB is not just about the business, it is about the owner and the business. So in brief, what we do with the owners personally is bring in peer-to-peer ownership, which means we bring together a set of non-competing, similar-sized owners come together. We heard Rajesh say advisory board, who have an outsiders in perspective, bring up the issues that we consider as very tricky. We don't want to bring it up with our family members, but here, friends are going to bring it up. And then we also back it up with a private coaching, where a TAB globally trained facilitator spends their time with you every month going into implementation, because ideas are cheap, right? A coach holds you accountable, and we have one coach here very soon, I'll make an introduction, who holds you accountable to make sure what you say gets done. And then we have the organization as well. So one thing is for the owner, one thing is for the business. We get into the next level team members. The larger organizations work with us at the next level team enablement. There's a lot of ongoing and a global connect. So that's what TAB is all about in brief. Now, who can be a member? Any business owner. Simple. We are looking for a member who is professionally and growth oriented, who's prepared to invest in his or her own success and listen to sound advice. That's about it. I don't think there is any other qualification criteria, because we have business owners from startups all the way up to 350 crores. We have 16 different industries, from professional services all the way to manufacturing, the spread. We are looking for a business owner who wants to grow professionally, and that's about it, right? So in summary, we are looking at people happy to connect. Here is the email ID, and welcome to connect with us. Very happy to glad and join as all of you guests who have come on board. Very glad that you could make it. Right. So now we are here to the agenda of the awards, right? It's the time, that time when we need to get into the award ceremony. So here we have with us, please welcome Mr. Ullas Deshpande, who is with me on the call as one of the 2 preeminent judges on the call. It's my honor, as always, to give an introduction, and then I'll hand over to Ullas for us to hear a little bit before we actually jump into the awards itself. But before I go to Ullas, the other person who is not here right now, Mr. Deepak Tomre. I must say that Mr. Deepak Tomre and Mr. Ullas Deshpande, I know them well, right? And Mr. Deepak Tomre has been my coach, and that's saying a bunch, because I've not been a very easy person to work with, right? And I've seen Deepak operate, right? He's been the chairman of one of the largest groups, many companies. He continues to be chairman at Dalmia Refractories. Plus, he's an executive coach and a mentor to a lot of people. He has built organizations ground up. So he's built international sales teams, grown the organization. Actually, he's a seasoned professional with 40+ experience, having built an organization, professionally grown it, and then become a coach, right? He's also an extremely value systems driven guy, which I can share for both the gentlemen here. And that matters quite a bit. So I know Deepak as a person who actually can say the toughest things extremely politely. I mean, it's almost impossible to figure out. It looks like he's talking to you in such a quiet and a very deliberate and a peaceful tone, and what he has said is something you would never want to hear, right? And still you will love him for it. That's Deepak for me, and he is one of the panel. Second is, of course, Mr. Ullas Deshpande, who's here. He also has successfully worked in large companies where HR is the cornerstone, right? He's been worked in pharmaceutical, financial service organization, and he and I actually both met because both of us were on an advisory board for a third company. And I must admit that he and I have some opposite personalities, right? So he's the kind of a guy who will listen to you, talk to you, and he will say a few things, make things happen. And here I'm the guy who's going upfront, right, talking about it. Observing him, I learned a lot. And very quickly, I realized that here is an HR professional who is very different, right? And I can tell you two things. I can poke a little bit of fun at Ullas by first poking fun at me. Because if there is somebody who is really hated, it's a consultant, right? So I can sort of take credit for that. And the next person who is worried about is HR. So we happen to be in professionals which are usually worried. And here I found an HR professional who was a business HR person, and that was refreshing because he could understand business very well, right from numbers to top line to bottom line to business issues to diversification to challenges, but look at it from a people point of view. And that was very refreshing for me. So he definitely comes across as a person who's very, very deliberate, very caring, very slow in what he says. And more than anything else, apart from his experience, he can climb mountains literally. Now, that's the other facet, which really, I mean, initially I didn't realize, I thought he was joking, but I realized this person actually climbs mountains. He has climbed some of the tallest peaks in the world. And he does it with avid regularity. That explains how he's fit, he's able to achieve challenges, and he knows how to pursue his goals, right? So we've been very, very lucky to actually have these two gentlemen with us right from get-go. So I must say that these two gentlemen were the first and the only panelists we ever considered, and they both agreed. And they devote a substantial amount of time every year for us to make these awards neutral, competitive, as well as analytical. They have evolved a framework, they have discussed ours, and they are very empathetic to the cases, and they come out with what is very invaluable way of looking at things. We are learning and growing, and thanks to them. So we really appreciate their time. And Ullas, I think this is a good opportunity for us to hear you speak for a while before we jump to the awards itself. So over to you.
Thank you, Ramas. You guys can see me and hear me?
Absolutely. So they will not be able to tell you, but yes, you are live and you're on.
Well, okay, so great. Wonderful to be at the TAP conference. Unfortunately, Deepak is unable to make it, but I will certainly do my best to represent him as well. Happy New Year, and very, very pleased to be here at the TAP conference 2022. So without getting into too much of an introduction, etc., I would like to jump into what is the concept and the criteria that we looked at while recommending and evaluating the awards. So for I think the Deepak's and my approach, like the previous years, has been to see how we can be as fair, as equitable, and as objective as we could be, given the kind of participant profile that we have. And so for the growth award, I think some of the criteria that we really looked at, broadly, we looked at three heads: top line growth, second was profitability, and third was working capital efficiency. Under the top line, we looked at revenue increase year on year. We looked at domestic and export separately because we wanted to see what's happening on both these markets. We looked at percentage change in net profit, and we looked at percentage change in the gross margin year on year. And on the working capital side, that covered the profitability part. And then on the working capital side, we looked at the change in inventory and change in receivables. Where is the significant improvement coming in on these two criteria, which tells us how the cash is being managed in the respective companies. So that's on the growth award. As far as the innovation award is concerned, we looked at the R&D expenses and in terms of as a percentage to revenue for the year 21-22. So obviously we wanted to see the commitment of each entrepreneur and each company to R&D and innovation. And of course, we looked at a broad theme in terms of the inputs that came from all of you, which were really in terms of the various process improvement initiatives, the changes in the export markets, the new markets that you would have tried to get into. We looked at the new product introductions, any process and technology improvements and new implementations that you have shared with us by way of the feedback. We also looked at the growth numbers because it was important to see that some of these initiatives are actually translating into some quantitative numbers. And these are not just business improvement or continuous improvement or business as usual kind of initiatives or programs. So we certainly wanted to look at the growth numbers parallelly along with these data points. We also saw whether there was any social impact happening, because many of the companies are very interesting and they are in areas where we believe that they could be making some social impact as well, besides being strong business organizations. We also checked whether there was any change in business model, and we were quite pleasantly surprised to see that quite a few companies have, despite 2 difficult years due to the COVID pandemic situation, some of the companies have made some very interesting changes to their business model, which is really a very, very bold step in a very difficult environment. Most importantly, I think the criteria that we wanted to apply really was which are the companies that were doing something path-breaking, something disruptive, something unique, something very, very unusual, versus initiatives which are part of our day-to-day working and business running. So I think the word path-breaking and disruptive was very important in that came to our mind when we looked at the data for the innovation award. And the third, of course, is the Harmony Award, which is really the employee satisfaction award or whatever we want to call it, but that's how we see it. There, I think the numbers were very clear because we had the questions and we had a rating scale. So I think the winners were very obvious. The criteria was very, very quantitative there. But there we did 2 calibrations to be fair to all the participants. First of all, we applied a criteria that, in any enterprise's case, if less than 25% of the employee response was received, that means if the employee number was 100 for the count for the year, and if the responses were less than 25, then we not considered that organization for the award. We also looked at the percentage responses that have come in on the employee base number, and we've kind of applied a factor so that we are fair to both the large companies as well as the small companies, and we are trying to compare apple to apple. So by applying a factor, we wanted to balance out the scores so that we treat everybody at par as much as we could. And then we got after applying the factor, the quantitative scores that came up through the survey in a way got sort of normalized. And I think that's how we did a couple of sessions. I think between Deepak and me, we had about 2 or 3 sessions ourselves, and we did have a session with people from TAB just to understand some data points and also try to understand some of the organizations and their business models and the industry that they were operating in, the macro factors, etc., just to get a feedback on the environment in which on the competitive landscape in which you are all operating. And hopefully at the end of these very interesting, very challenging, very fruitful interactions, we were able to come to some recommendations which we were happy to share with Ramas and the team, and which I think Ramas will now take it forward and announce. But I must tell you that on behalf of Deepak as well as myself, that we are very, very pleased with the progress that is happening, because we've been, very fortunate to be judges for these awards now for quite a while. And if I may say so, we are like permanent fixtures now at the TAB annual event. We're very happy to see that there's a lot of progress, a lot of interesting data we see. We also see some of the companies performing consistently year on year, because some of the names are very familiar because we've been part of the whole award process now for a couple of years, and we see some of the companies are growing stronger and bigger. And we also see some very new age companies coming in, people trying out new things, doesn't matter what their current revenue numbers or the size of the business is. And all in all, it's been a very satisfying experience, and we've learned a lot. And I hope the TAG process and the awards will go a long way in just strengthening this whole organization. I mean, all of you as entrepreneurs do certainly get strengthened, but I think the whole TAB ecosystem gets strengthened as a result of these awards. And most importantly, I think our real expectation is that these awards and the processes that you are going through will actually help you as entrepreneurs to become stronger leaders and people who are willing to sort of be on the learning curve all the time, and take your organizations to much greater levels. So that's really the expectation, that the awards should result in significantly enhancing the leadership quality of the management team and the entrepreneurs. So that's really what I would say on behalf of Deepak and myself, and I'll hand it over back to Ramas. Once again, wishing you all a happy new year, and hope you have a wonderful year ahead, both in personally as well as in terms of business performance, and all the very best.
Thank you, Ullas. I think that was very, very good. And I think it made a lot of sense coming from you, and genuinely sessions were in depth. That's the whole point, right? And it's been very, very pleasantly. And yes, permanent fixture is a pride for us, right? So great. And I'm serious. I really mean it, because it takes a big thing out of our head, because you know what, giving awards is like a double-edged sword, right? As a professional organization, we are investing in these awards for the long term, really long term. And it's very important that the people who get it, as well as the others, believe that there is some equitable method to it, right? And genuinely speaking, it has been good. So it's a big headache out. It's okay to give awards, right? That's not the point. But it's important to give awards, and then everybody feels, reasonably good about it, and feels, okay, there is some sense in it, right? And even if you make some issues, as long as we make it consistently year after year, you know what, it's great, because then everybody will win on the same track. I think the important thing is you have helped us create the ruler. Now we will use the same ruler to measure it, and that makes it easier year on year. So thank you very much. I know you did inform us that you have an appointment to go to, so you're welcome to be here till the end. Actually, it will be good. But at any point in time you feel you need to log off, welcome to do so, Ullas. And thank you very much for being there and making the time.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you. Great. So, it's now that time of the evening where we get to the fun part, where we're going to give awards. We're going to have a bunch of members waiting to come here on screen, share the stage. So it's been pretty lonely with 3-4 people on stage. Now we're going to have a bunch of people come. And I hope you're all ready. All the nominees are good to go and get started. Before that, the last honorable mention, right? And no event can be successful because without the people who help us doing. So here's a big thank you to Ajinkya, Ram, Swaroop, who've been coordinating the tech stuff. Ram is actually, just outside the loop. He's been helping Bharati. Appreciate his presence. And Sridhanya, Priyanka, Lakshmi Narayan at different locations. So all of us together are doing their faces you wouldn't be seeing. But you know what? I think a couple of us said this many times, that a virtual conference is far harder to put together than a real conference. That's what we felt, right? Because in fact, we were joking when we started, is in a real conference, once people come there, the magic happens because we are all helping each other. Now, all of a sudden, there is technology, 6 locations. So it's been a lot of hard work. So thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Okay, with that, we move to the awards, right? So the first thing that we need to go is I'm going to pass it over to Ravi, who will get started with the first bunch of awards, and then we'll pick it up from there. Over to you, Ravi.
Okay. So now we are now entering the second part of the conference, the one which all of us are eagerly waiting for, which is the award ceremony. So these awards celebrate the achievements of our members, and we are proud to recognize the awardees. So to begin with, we will award the board stars. So these are stars of the year in each of these 7 boards. So the award is based on scores given by the board members themselves to their peers. So here we go. Let me welcome the board star winners on the stage. We have Piyush from Shantanu. Okay, there's Govindarajan and Vinay Sawant. Vinay, if you can change your name, it will be nice. Israel, Jnanaraj, Siddharth Balda, and D. Ravi. So these are the board stars from the 7 boards. Very quickly, I would like to mention Piyush Shah has been awarded the board star for his transformation of personality with respect to employee relations and complete involvement in the board activities and excellent overall performance. So Piyush, congratulations. Shantanu, you have been awarded because the other members feel thoughtful responses to other members' issues and great participation in the board. Ravi, he implements and takes actions from every board meeting input. Vinay Sawant, complete change in approach in the year, good company performance, and good suggestions in the board. Israel Jnanaraj, measured and cultured responses, great suggestions, and willing to take and implement ideas from others. Govindarajan, he never holds himself and expresses his challenges and look forward to members' help. And last but not the least, Siddharth Balda, the latest TAB board, successfully adopted the TAB process in a short time, highly committed, and good participation in the board. So as you can see, it's all about participation, helping each other, and implementing ideas, and so on. So congratulations to each of you for a wonderful performance in your boards, and thank you so much. Now we will turn to the next award, which is the TAB Achievement Award. Now, this is a new award that we have put in this time. And this is thanks to Ullas, actually. Ullas had suggested this specifically, that we should bring in this new award. So this is an award instituted in this year for the members who have benefited the most from TAB. Members who have taken significant decisions due to their involvement with TAB. So let me welcome the TAB Achievement Award nominees on stage. So we have in alphabetical order of names, Govindarajan from Prasanna Tools, Rakesh Kumar from Karaikal, Iyengar Sweets, who is of course one of the sponsors as well, and Siddharth Balda from Alcop Industries. So these are the 3 gentlemen who are the nominees for the TAB Achievement Award. And so now we're going to start announcing the awards, right? So here's the suspense. The suspense begins. The second runner-up award goes to Govindarajan from Prasanna Tools. So he has mentioned, I'm quoting from his, what he has mentioned as TAB achievement. Before TAB, our actions and thinking on day-to-day operations and for firefighting issues. Now working towards strategic thinking, critical success factors, and KPIs. So he has completely changed the way of working because of TAB. Govindarajan, that's an amazing implementation, I think. The runner-up award goes to Rakesh Kumar from Karaikal. He says, I am focused now on my core competency, and now I don't waste my time by thinking of doing any investments which is not relevant to my core competency. I think that's a great point that he has brought out. So Rakesh, congratulations. And the winner is, of course, Siddharth Balda from Alcop. He has managed to increase in sales. The impact was due to more focused strategy on some products and accountability of TAB. I think he's got the essence of what TAB is all about, the accountability bit. And let me tell you with personal, I had some very personal interactions with Siddharth. He's one guy whom you can just go to, tell him that this is what needs to be done, and the next time you can be sure it's done. And when he says something, he actually does it. I think that's the main thing about Siddharth. Siddharth, congratulations. And congratulations to each of you for using this TAB platform so effectively. I think the key to success is implementation of plans. And that's what you guys have done. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to hand it over back to Ramas for the rest of the awards.
Hey, thanks, Ravi. Appreciate it. So we are starting on to the next leg of the awards, right? Because if you notice, the awards right now had to do with how the person behaved and performed and contributed and got value from the board, how their peers rated them, how they got value from the board. Now we are moving into how they did as a business and how they performed as an organization, how they performed as a team. As Ullas said, there are 4 awards, right? And he gave you the gist of each one. Growth is all about top line, bottom line, working capital, which is sales, profit, cash, and how they made it happen, and its growth. And there has been parity for how people have grown year on year. And it's a tough year. It's a great idea to look at growth. The second is innovation. Innovation is a big word. In fact, when the awards were constituted, we were thinking about profitability. And then we decided, and again, thanks to the judges, we shifted it out of profitability and we moved it to innovation. Because innovation is the only way we can ensure long-term profitability. Right? You can do short-term profitability by many things, but nobody can build long-term profitability and, more importantly, valuation. Today, we talked about so many issues related to succession and all that. I think I always believe that the minute an owner stops thinking about the product that they sell to the customer, but start thinking about their company itself as a product that they are going to sell or hand over to somebody else. It could be like a watch, a Swiss watch that you hand over to generations. Or it could be like a house you want to sell off for whatever reason, but it's an asset, and that comes from innovation. So innovation is about disruptive thought, new thinking, whatever we have done that builds long-term assets for the business. Then we have an award called StratPro, where we are actually bringing the next level team members up. The StratPro is all about getting the next level team members to take charge, which is also very critical for where an entrepreneur needs to go. In fact, one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs have is about transitioning the business to somebody else, delegating, finding time to get out of the firefighting and newer things. And that's the StratPro Award, people who've really done that well. And finally, we have the Harmony Award. Harmony Award is a people-centric award. And the Harmony Award becomes critical all the more because here it is not just based on the responses that the owners give and data, it's actually meant based on an anonymous survey that is done in the company for their employees. So it's not only about how you've done, it's about how your employees think you've done in an anonymous survey. And therefore it becomes important, and the organization needs to get better. So the Harmony Award is fairly intense and interesting from that perspective as well. So these are the background of the awards. And now jump in straight away and we would do these 4 awards and let's get started. The first award is that of StratPro. So when it comes to the StratPro Award, let me talk about the people who are going to be nominated, and I will be inviting them on stage as we go along, right? So let me welcome the StratPro nominees on stage. We have with us Aditya Marfatia from Electrolab. We have Shehul Sheth from Acupack. We have Tangamani Maran from Gino Maran Builders. We have Venkat from Sri Venkateshwara Sweets. This time we have decided to recognize StratPro as West and South, right? The idea was that we have enough StratPro engagements going on. We have enough people on board. So we said, look, it's a good idea. And you know what? South has started a little later. West has been around. Let's keep the parity and keep the competition going, right? So we have the West and South. So we have 2 awards for the StratPro West and StratPro South. So here are the awards. For StratPro West, the runner-up, Aditya is sitting like this. I mean, come on.
I'm like, I have been preparing that if I don't win, I'm still going to clap and smile.
So you know what? Why don't we just clap once? I mean, we've all done well. it or not. I mean, from among the lot, we've already come up to the top 2. So there's nothing here, right? All of us are going to get awards and certificates because there's a runner-up as well as a winner. So that's good. So we won in a way. And so the runner-up from StatPro West goes to Aditya Marfatia for Electrolab, right? It's a very committed team in play. There has been amazing amount of participation coming from Aditya. And we know how the transition has been in building a professional organization, getting the teams to work in difficult times in a product that's very competitive. So great job done, Aditya, on behalf of all the KTM. And therefore, the winner for the StatPro Award goes to Shehul Seth from AccuPack, right? A team that's executed the strategic plan effectively with rigorous reviews, right? And constant interaction between themselves. And sort of AccuPack did a little pip on that because they have 3 units within 1 unit and they did StatPro for all the units, right? It was amazing. And I wish we had seen the 3 musketeers. I'm going to show you the picture of the 3 musketeers because Shehul here is on behalf of his partners, Bhagwan Gaikwad and Anil Kumar, right? So, well, I like to call them 3 musketeers. So well done, Shehul.
Thank you.
On behalf of your partners. Okay, going to StatPro South. Right, the runner-up award goes to Tangamani Maran, right, from Gino Maran Builders for successfully involving his family and other key team members, right, into the strategic planning and execution, building strategic planning, building execution, and working with it. Well done, Mr. Maran. Family, your key team members for having done. You have a trophy and certificate coming in. And the winner from StatPro South is Venkat from Venkateshwara Sweets. Right, in a retail business, it has been very challenging, right? And in the challenging period in retail, he grew and he took the opportunity to get his team members involved, right? And that's where I think the judges saw value. So congratulations to each one of you to consciously engaging your second line team. A lot of us keep talking about it, right? But whenever we engage the next line teams and sort of make it effective, I think it is going to build innovation. And to me, that's as much asset as anything else. Culture is probably the toughest asset. And I think you guys are on road for it. So great job done. Kudos to you. And you must see the perfetti falling down, right? It's important for you to see that. And we wish we could. So next time when we meet, we'll all do the clapping and the applause, but at least there is some nice golden stuff coming in to recognize you guys. Thank you. Well done. Right. We then go to the next award in the category, which is the TAB Growth Award, right? So we know the Growth Award, the constituents and the background. So let me, without any ado, let me sort of move on to the stage and welcome the nominees, right? The nominees haven't seen anything right now, okay? So, the good part about it, right? So they didn't see, there's no cheap preview of that. So I'm glad. So now they're coming in, so it's very good.
The nominees are?
So let's welcome the TAB nominees for growth. We have with us Rakesh Telavne from Telavne Power Equipment, Transformer Equipment Manufacturing. We have Ravi from Classic Molds in Chennai. And we have Shan from Touch Solar Energy. So welcome you guys. Well done in the growth category. And it's been an amazing year, right? It's a tough year. To grow in this experience is even better. So well done. God bless, right? So now I'm going to announce the winners, right? So the second runner-up for the TAB Growth Award goes to Ravi D from Classic Molds. And the thing that really mattered in his being in the top nominations is because of some outstanding working capital management and some excellent inventory and receivable management. They say cash is king. I think Ravi really managed to do that in a tough period and be able to manage in an auto parts industry, which is very difficult to do. The runner-up goes to Shan from Touch Solar for some real scorching growth, right? Pun intended. Right, in revenue, where there has been a 367% growth and profitability jump, which is humongous. He's pivoted, right, and managed to go into a space that is very, very new. So he gets a runner-up award for second place. Shan, congratulations. And therefore, the winner is Rakesh Telavne, right, from Mumbai, simply because of an overall performance on all parameters of growth. What Telavne has done, again in a tough year in infrastructure, Telavne has actually grown 66% in terms of growth. There's a profitability jump of over 200% in a very, very cutthroat margin business. And at the same time, inventory days have reduced to 35 and receivable days has come to 19. And I can add that we know what transition Telavne has been in terms of working capital and cash over the last many years. So commendable performance. Congratulations, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
So let me just again show you the screen, just so to see the award and perfectly going down, right? So I think that's the bit which says, well done, in view of applause. Best luck, and please move ahead into a very, very big growth year ahead as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Right. We then move on to the next category, which is innovation. At this juncture, let me stop the sharing and welcome our nominees for the Innovation Award. We have an interesting list out here. We have Chitra Shah from Satya Special School. We have Kunal Bajaj, right, whose surname usually gets mixed up with Gasitaram, right? So we have Kunal Bajaj from Gasitaram Sweets and Rahul Masurekar from Ace Carbo. We're going to wait until they join us for a bit. So we have Rahul, Kunal, and Chitra. Two of you have already been seen in the panel discussion. So glad you're back here. So are we getting Kunal in line? Right. So let me anyway go ahead, and if Kunal comes up, maybe he will join in, right? So this is an innovation award, right, where there has been a substantial amount of disruptive innovation, model changes, some new thinking that came in, and that's what has compelled this whole process, right? So what we have, the second runner-up in this category, the award goes to Kunal Bajaj of Gasitaram Sweets. Kunal, again in the retail industry, from being almost down and out last year due to COVID. It was a very difficult time. He was in B2B and retail, and he was almost down and out in terms of revenues, something to some unknown levels. And he pivoted completely into a new business model, focusing on exports and online. And that was amazing. In fact, recently, I remember when we were traveling to the US, it was a matter of huge pride for me to see a Gasitaram Rasgulla in the US, and I couldn't resist but take a picture and post it into the group. And that was the result of the pivoting, right? It's a matter of pride. So Kunal gets the second runner-up thanks to the innovations that he has done. The runner-up award goes to Rahul. Rahul from Ace Carbo, simply because of the exemplary courage, right? And the determination to invest and build completely in a new facility for advanced heat treatment services at a time when people were going under the bunker, right, and thinking what to do. And I remember Rahul saying this in the panel discussion as well, right? It's a 40-year-old organization, but he said, touch wood, we have remained contemporary, and that's not easy, right? So it's very, very important to remain contemporary as we go along. And so kudos, Rahul, very well done. So you get the runners-up trophy and the certificate, very well done. And therefore, the winner is Chitra Shah from Satya Special School, right? It's a privilege for us to be working with you, ma'am, for a cause that you are into, in spite of being in a large organization. See, the newborn high-risk clinic, which actually identifies children right at birth and tries to do something to prevent their disability. We need many more of these kind of situations in India, right? And therefore, we are very privileged, first of all, to have you as a member. And in the last 2 years, and I think it's just worth talking a little bit more. So I am going to explain some of what you did, okay, with your permission. So in the last 2 years, we've identified 2,500 newborns who are at the risk of developing disability. That's what Satya Schools has done. It's a first of its kind alternative inclusive center for education, which gives an opportunity for specific ability learning children and children from very difficult backgrounds, right, to continue their schooling. COVID times were difficult, but in COVID pandemic, they launched a lending project to ensure to bridge the digital divide and ensure that even disadvantaged children can actually be given a learning opportunity, right? They were cited as one of the top 100 educational innovations during the pandemic by Social Research Forum USA. Ma'am, no doubt that you get the award and take the innovation award. Well done. Congratulations to each one of you for passion and innovation, because genuinely, like I said, if we consider the business as our product, innovation is the asset and the mechanism to do it. So God bless. Keep growing, keep innovating.
Thank you so much.
Once again, I sort of will ask you to leave.
Thank you, Ramas. Thank you, Tab.
Well done. Thank you. As I speak, I know the members are somewhere around. I would ask all the winners and the nominees to stay in the waiting room, because we can get you back in for a collective picture in just a few minutes. Okay, so bear with us for a few minutes. We want everybody to come back in as soon as the last award is done and dusted, right? So that will be
But
great.
it's not only the awardees, we can have all the members coming in.
Absolutely. It's a time where we will formally close the conference to a close, and we'll want everybody, whoever wants, to jump up on Zoom so that we can have a few chat, a nice group picture, and do the best closest to a physical meeting, right? Until we meet again. So now we come to the next award and get you back in for a collective picture in just a few minutes. Okay. So, right. And the award is Harmony. Like I said, Harmony is an award where we have got people voting for the award winners, and it's an award where it's a thumbs up, not only from the judges, thumbs up from their own teams. Okay, and here, let me therefore welcome all the TAB Harmony nominees on stage. We have Kamal Sharma from Adent Analytics, a company which is people-centric, right? I mean, in fact, it goes without saying, all companies are people-centric, but an IT company is more so. Then we have Piyush Shah from Titan Labs, and we have Rajan Mehta from Efficient Energy. Welcome all three of you, right? And I'm very glad to have you here on stage. And it's been a long time waiting, because the Harmony Awards sort of come towards the end, I think, by intent, right? So it's good that you guys have been waiting. So now we're sort of almost near the end process wherein we sort of announce the awards, right? So the second runner-up goes to Rajan Mehta from Efficient Energy, simply because they have built a very energetic and highly motivated team in the arena where service is very critical. You need to go to remote places. In fact, for those of you who don't know, Efficient Energy manages a lot of data centers. So in India, right, pretty much exclusively important. So all of us owe a lot of thanks to our Wi-Fi and internet, thanks to the kind of service support that Efficient Energy gives. Difficult business, and therefore they get the award for building a very motivated team. Congratulations, Rajan. The runner-up award goes to Kamal Sharma from Adent Analytics. Again, a very good overall employee satisfaction, barring a few things here and there. Phenomenal feedback, excellent qualification, and the judges had no trouble sort of picking you up as the first runner-up for the trophy and the certificate. So congratulations, Kamal, well done. And the winner goes to Piyush Shah, right? And from Titan Labs for the second year in running. And that's the interesting part. And I must say this, Titan was facing a lot of people challenges before they started this process, right? And it was almost like the company decided to put people in front for a while and build the next level team members before they go back. Titan is known to be an aggressive company, and essentially given their large size and sheerly the number of employees who sort of got onto the Harmony survey and voted, it is an extremely difficult achievement to get consistently good ratings. So that was a thing that sort of was very impressive. So 2 years in a row. And by the way, many of these members have been nominated to other categories. They could have got an award elsewhere, but the judges said, look, we need to, if somebody is getting nominated in an award in the top 3, well, they'll be intimated later, but they are not being caught in. So in a way, so while there has been growth, all of you guys have done well as well. And Titan scored the Harmony Award simply because of the consistent hard work done second year in a row. Piyush, congratulations. Very well done. I hope your team gets to see this, and all of you all will have these videos online. So everybody who's got the awards, I would request that you guys share it with your team members, share it with your business partners, and get there. So this is the Perfetti. This is, thank you so much. So before we sort of wind up the session and the awards are sort of done up, like I said, a couple of administrative issues. Firstly, I would just request all of us who are in the waiting rooms and the nominees, the award winners, and all the members, so whoever can join into the Zoom link, because we will call the conference to a formal close, and then we're going to have a picture taken with all of us together. It is going to be amazing to see a collage of pictures out here. Imagine that we are on a stage and we are all of us together and taking a picture clip for us, right? I mean, that's the closest that we can do right now. So some issues. So all of these recordings are going to be available in a week's time. So for those of you who want to showcase this to your stakeholders, obviously we can't cheat and tell you the nominations before, right? But now you can use it, right, Chicos, and we will be happy to sort of amplify it as well for all of us, because awards are a good thing for us to build a brand. So feel free to let us know. We'll be happy to amplify. We also want to now formally call the conference to a close before we go on, right? And then to the pictures. I think it's important to have everybody on stage. Like we said, it's been a thought-provoking, tough challenge to do these conferences, right? It does call for a lot of teamwork from all of us. But we're not going to give up. We've started on time, we'll finish on time, we'll keep going like this, because that's what keeps the TAP community growing. So our heartfelt thanks to everybody who made this conference possible, second time virtually in a row. Third time we will hopefully meet. It's very important that we connect, collaborate, and celebrate. And celebrate is something entrepreneurs don't do enough. We create enough celebration for others. We don't create enough celebration for ourselves. So it's a great time to pat ourselves on the back, do very well in a difficult situation, and also thanks for being part of the TAP community. We know we have taken a challenge over a period of years to grow, right? Coaching is new to SMEs. It's not very common. And by the way, it's very funny. And I keep saying this many times. Any professional, any great professional, whether it be athlete, whether anybody for that matter, any great professional, once they reach a particular skill level, they will have coach, they will have peers, they will have colleagues, right? Entrepreneurs need it too, because we want to go to the next level. So we are very proud, very happy to be here. And I just want to formally call the conference to a close at this point in time and invite everybody to be on track. We'll create networking opportunities after this. So those of you, and it has been put up in your TAP groups, it has been communicated to you, all of you who are keen, welcome to join the Zoom group. We'll be happy to connect, speak, network, and take it ahead. So once again, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And we go offline and off live now, and we're just on Zoom from here on. Stay well, stay blessed. God bless.
Thank you, Ramas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramas. Cheers.
Hi.
Thank you, Tap. Thank you, Ramas. Thank you, Ravi.
Now I can be a little informal and say, Kunal, where were you, man?
I did not get the link, sorry, but nobody sent me the link.
At least I'm glad. So we are going to morph your picture now in that award now and sort of show you.